Good evening, everybody. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful time. Hello, everyone. Yeah, we are live. Yes, we are live. We are live right now. We are live. We are live. Please, I need you to please mute your, if you are not talking, please mute your phone, mute so that we won't be having interference. Please mute. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me, right?
Yeah, this is Audu Kadiri from New York. I can hear you.
Oh, my brother. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. It's good.
How you doing too?
Yeah. Yes, let's end SARS. Let's end it.
Yes, so.
As I'm talking to you now, we are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, we are live on Zoom. I think, yes, you also have the link, so you can also share that link on WhatsApp with people. We are live now, so why is this interference coming from? Oh my God, you know. But you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay.
Is there any interference? It doesn't seem there is one.
Okay. Can you confirm if we are live on YouTube? I think we are. I just want to be sure. We are live on YouTube.
Yes, we are.
We are live on YouTube, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
I think Mr. Emmanuel is raising his hands.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. Once again, good evening. Mr. Yinka, good evening. How are you today?
I'm fine. Sorry about being late. It's the snow out here, the snowstorm, because I wanted to do it in the office, so I had to come all the way to the office to do this today. So the snowstorm, because I wasn't expecting it, I didn't check the weather, so it took me a long while to get here, and I couldn't text and call on the road here. So that's sorry about being 9 minutes late. Sorry about that.
Okay. Once again, I want to. Okay, we have to hold on. Okay, hold on, please. Hold on. You know, this technology sometimes is is something else. So okay, Mr. Emmanuel, are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Good evening, everybody. Because sometimes we are having interference. Okay. All right. I think it's getting better now. So good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah, I can hear you. I think everybody should be able to hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, so once again, I want to welcome you to this month's edition of Community Enrichment webinar. It's a webinar series that we have every month that really focus on various things that bother us as a people. And of course, we are Africans in diaspora. We're having interference. I think it's getting better now. So good evening. So can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So once again, want to welcome everybody to this month's edition of Meet like Community Enrichment webinar series. An initiative of Center for African Advancement in America. We do have this every month. We started in September when we talked about pandemic. In October, we also talked about creating an enabling environment and how people can participate more in the electoral system. Now, this month, we're going to be discussing immigration. So I have very two distinguished personalities who will be here, who are already here. No, yeah, they're already here to really, talk to us and also, make their views known regarding this important topic. We'll be sharing on immigration and also the search for greener pasture abroad and the importance of, immigration, especially to the host communities. Today, I have Mr. Audu, Kadiri Audu. Mr. Kadiri Audu is Mr. Kadiri Audu is a community organizer. He's a community organizer and is based in New York. He has done so much for his people, and he will be sharing some of these things with us today. And we also have Ms. Roslyn. Are you there to please give us Mr. Audu's profile? Is he available?
Yes, I'm here. Let me share my.
How are you?
MAGAN.
So for that technology is sometimes unpredictable, and of course it doesn't always respond, because it's a computer. There's always that error, so we should put that into consideration that it's not something that that is 100% efficient like that. So do you want to start with Mr. Yinka, or you want to start with Mr. Audu?
I can start with Mr. Olayinka.
Okay,
so Mr. Olayinka Ogundipe is a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. He's also a member in good standing with the Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Council, the Canadian government mandated body in charge of all Canadian immigration consultants, and a province of Ontario appointed commissioner of oaths. Is the in-house regulated Canadian immigration consultant for Aboway Immigration, a Canadian immigration firm located in Canada. He also has over 8 years experience in handling both Canadian and US immigration applications. And here is his picture.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rosely. Ms. Rosely was introduced to us.
And Mr. Audu Kadiri is a community organizer, a public health and human rights advocate with over 15 years of experience. He currently works with African Communities Together, ACT, as a community organizer. His role as an organizer with ACT includes base building, leadership development among members, and connecting them to resources that they need to start a new life in the US. He also helps connect members and clients to free and low-cost immigration services, as well as pushing back on policies and laws that affect African immigrants in the US. I'm sorry, I don't have a picture at this time, but before the end of the event, I will have the picture ready and I will share with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Roslyn, and I really appreciate it. Once again, I want to welcome our guest, and I want to welcome everybody for coming here. I know a lot of people are watching us on YouTube. They are watching us on Facebook. So, of course, many people, we made it easy. Unlike before, we used to have this event on Zoom, but now we have made it easier in such a way that especially people who are watching us from other parts of the world, they can easily watch on Facebook, and they can easily watch on YouTube. So yes, once again, I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome all our guests here. I'm gonna start with Mr. Audu. Mr. Audu, please, can you share with us, what do you understand by immigration? Please, I need you to mute your phone. If you are not mute, please, if you are not talking. Mr. Audu.
All right, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. I hope everybody can hear me.
We can.
All right, so, well, immigration is broad. Immigration is very broad, but for the purpose of this discussion, I want to limit it to what we generally understand by immigration. Immigration, generally speaking, is the movement of people, migration of people. Immigration is the process of moving from one country to another, and immigration, as far as I know, is as human race itself, because people migrate for different reasons. People migrate for different reasons, and that is why, to some people, we believe immigration is a human right. People should be allowed to move freely to wherever they want to go to. And I won't say that there are basic reasons why people migrate. People migrate for various reasons. One of the reasons why people migrate is for economic reasons. People want to seek greener pasture. People want to, work in a good climate where they can make money to help their family and achieve their goal. Another reason why people travel is because of climate change, natural disasters. Natural disasters emanating as a result of climate change. Recently, we've seen why people travel from Africa to Europe and other part of the country and other part of the world because of sometimes natural disasters, and another reason why people travel is due to political unrest. Many people travel because the country is at war. There are no amenities. People want to survive. They just have to live. And also people travel again for study. People travel for humanitarian purposes. Study is one, humanitarian purposes another reason why people travel. People travel for protection, humanitarian reasons, asylum, refugee status. People travel because of all these reasons. So I'll talk about immigration, why people what people need to know when they travel, and how you can best prepare yourself before you travel. But generally speaking, migration is moving from one place to another.
Thank you.
Pastors,
Thank you, Mr. Audu.
Yeah.
Yes, immigration.
Hello.
Right. As an immigration consultant in Canada, Mr. Yinko Gudipe, what's your own view? What's your own definition? Do you believe that immigration is an human right? If not, what's your own view about immigration?
Thank you, Mr.
Sorry. Please, if you are not talking, please, can you mute your phone so that we can understand one another very well? Please mute. And if you have questions, please feel free to drop your question on the chat box and we'll be able to read it. If you have questions for any of, so drop it. Thank you, Mr. Yinka. Go ahead.
Okay, hi guys. Hello everyone. Well, my idea about immigration is it's similar to what Mr. Aldo Kadri said. Immigration is the movement of people. It's just the basic movement of people from a place to another point. 100 years ago, 100 years ago, before the advent of, there was nationhood, but not really as defined as it is today. There was nothing called a passport. So everybody could move wherever you wanted to move to. It was a very simple process. I guess in the U.S. they had residencies and stuff for cities. Papers for just maybe tax papers and stuff to for people to define where they had their interests located at. But people were generally allowed to move from place to place, point A to B. That's why human history is filled with migration stories, from the story of the Israelites, Egypt, even the Yorubas, the Igbos, and the Igalas, I'm a Awori from Lagos, the Awori history, the Bini people, even the slave the movement, and also even the Europes, the white, the Caucasians, their movements from wherever they were from to throughout Europe, Rome, and to the Americas. So I am concerning your question about it being a human right. Um, I think it is a human right, but the more and more the more and more we become more civilized, more civilized, more structured, all human rights are coming with regulations now. All human rights are becoming are being legislated, are being controlled and regulated. So by authorities that we have given control to control us, to have authority over us. Either by our parents giving them authorities, or just being born in certain places, or just because of certain fears or certain nationalistic favor, we have given certain authorities, which helped in developing the world, the human race more, because back in the days we had tribes, but now we have governments and nationhood. So yes, it's a human right, but as we can see, all human rights are being regulated and legislated as of today. So yes, it's a human right, but it's also under the regulation and legislations of authorities, which are governments. So that's my take on that.
Thank you, Mr. Yinka. Now, Mr. Audu, I think Yinka just talked about, though it is more like a human rights thing, but it is under legislation and it's also restricted based on the laws of the land. So the question that I'm gonna put across to you is, what do you think are the benefits? And I did remember that he said immigration is as old as human existence, that people moved from one place to another, even during this pre-slave era, during the pre-colonial days, not even, it happened in so many countries. So it was really like, a general norm, like people will move from one place to another due to one reason or the other. So Mr. Audu, can you, what would you say are the benefits of immigration?
Well, to start with, the benefits of immigration are very enormous. But one very clear benefit is, increased economic growth. The host country, the country people are migrating to, will develop economic growth. There will be an increase in the economy because people are moving and they are bringing new skills. They are coming to enrich your economy. That's one. And two, there are jobs that are termed menial jobs, unpopular jobs. These are jobs that immigrants will readily want to do. For example, in the US, there are kind of jobs that are more, seen done by immigrants, and these are other advantage. And there's potential for entrepreneurs in a country. When you go to foreign countries abroad, America, for example, you find out that most of the side shop, little shop, corner shop that you see are owned by immigrants. These are these are benefits to these countries. Also, it's a solution to aging problem. And you see the influx of young people from Africa to Europe, to the US, Canada, Australia, these developed places. And as their population is aging, it's being replaced by young, vibrant immigrants, especially from Africa, who are seeking greener pastures or running away because of unrest or because of political, political unrest and intimidation. They contribute to this country. These are some of the advantage. And when you talk about migration, when people migrate to a certain place, they come with skills. They come with capacities to readily contribute to the development of that country. So there are a lot of benefits when you talk about immigration to a certain country. So these are a few, examples I want to just to piggyback on what Olayinka said about immigration as a human right. I think the fact that we both agree that a human right is good, but I don't think, as a human rights advocate, I don't believe human rights should be regulated. Human rights are rights, inalienable. It doesn't matter. If you regulate human rights, then you're telling people, humans, that they need to be limited. But I think that's a discussion for another day, not on this platform. I just want to, make it clear that human rights are not supposed to be regulated. I don't believe they are supposed to be regulated. Yes, you can put laws in place, you can put policies in place to check the excesses of people, but regulating how people should, I don't know. I just want to state that. But yes, as old as human beings, people migrate freely. Like Yinka said, in the olden days, there was no borders. There were no borders. And we know how Africa was divided. Even before they divided Africa in 1884 at the Berlin Conference, we had empires. We had all these things in place. So there were no borders. And that's why I say it's a human right. You are supposed to move. And it's as old as human, like we rightly said. But we can regulate laws and policies that guides people, but regulating humans, I think maybe I don't agree with that as a human rights activist. But yes, these are some of the benefits you can get as that immigration has.
Thank you so much, Mr. Audu. If you are checking the screen, these are the profiles of our guests today, Mr. Audu and Mr. Ogudikpe. And Mr. Yinka Ogudikpe is up. Then Mr. Audu is is second on the row. So this is their profile. These are people who are making impact in their respective communities. Mr. Audu is a New York-based community organizer and human rights activist with so many years of experience in these areas. While Mr. Yinka Ogudikpe is an immigration consultant with Aboway. Mr. Audu just talked to us about one of the benefits of immigration, is it increases economic growth. Of course, both of you agree that it's human rights. Why you said that that human rights is regulated, which is true, but Mr. Audu said it should not be regulated. So, in what way, as immigration contributed to the development of the host countries? What are the other ways you can talk about? In what way has it enhanced economic growth? Mr. Yinka, the question is for you.
Okay, thank you. Well, for economic growth, immigration, Immigration since time immemorial has always been about advancement. Advancement for the person on the move, either for commerce or for trade purposes, or for religion. I mean, it's sometimes for religious purposes too. The travel to Mecca, the pilgrims and stuff. And but even with that, even with the religious connotations and the religious travels, we know that traders and people in Saudi Arabia and also Israel, they take the opportunities of the migrants and the travelers coming in to trade, to improve their economic situation, for commerce. So even time from the Romans, the Romans, the Germans, even when traveling was documented, because in Africa, yes, it's orally documented, but we're talking of documented history. In Africa, even in Africa too, the trade routes, the just migration itself. Migration could also be from going home to work. So that's just the movement of people moving around. So concerning about the host nations, I'll go back to why I talked about the human rights of traveling and migration now, that why it's being regulated and how it's been regulated. It's also a form of control to gain economic advantage. The first idea of the passport, which is what is used to control migration, passport and visas, is what is used to control migration, was in China. It's basically like a letter, so like a letter of request. So it's also used to gain advantage by having a nation. So a nation becomes more powerful when a nation becomes more structured, more powerful. Then for it to be more powerful, then other nations have to be at a disadvantage. So the more powerful a nation is, the more its people, its citizens. Remember, when we talk of powerful, we know the U.S. passport is very powerful. Well, let's talk about Rome. Roman senators, Roman citizens. There was a reason why we wanted to be Roman citizens. People, when they were conquered, they easily became Roman citizens. That's why a lot of people want to become Western citizens, because that passport, the fact that you're a citizen carries a benefit, and that benefit is also a letter of request to travel in certain lands. So in doing that, it all automatically gives it gives that nation, the host nation, some economic advantage over other nations. So it's also strategic too in controlling human rights. So that's you will see that for the past 100 years, human rights in all forms and shapes have been curtailed. Have been regulated by authorities, because the more you control human rights, people believe human right. Housing, shelter, feeding are human rights, but it's still it's now becoming more under legislation and regulations in the EU, even in Nigeria, in South Africa, everywhere. It's becoming more under regulations. So those are just aspects of having how in migration, migration gives powers, and powers gives unseen economic advantages. Now let's talk about the migrants giving economic advantages to the host nations. A good example is Canada as of today. Canada, I'm sure if you follow the immigration news, you've heard that Canada wants over 1 million newcomers to Canada. Not just this is for the permanent residents, not travelers, not students, not workers. So with that, that's a higher number. Just for PR, they are going to give permanent residency, which will later become citizens if they choose to, 1.2 million people in the next 3 years. Why would a country that wants to regulate that is so not gung-ho, but that is really regulating immigration, do that? Because they have found a way to streamline the people that will come in as migrants. So they want to control migration to benefit them. So out of the 1.2 million people that will be coming in, over 50% of them will be economic migrants. That means they have skills, they are highly skilled, and they are in professions that they need people in Canada. There's a gap in that. There's a shortfall in the amount of skills and the talent in Canada. So they want to fill that up with the people coming from the foreign nationals coming into Canada. So that itself, just understanding that shows you that that's the main reason for that is an economic purpose. And apart from that straightforward straightforward advantage, there are also unforeseen advantages coming in. Cultural exchange, diversity, transfer of skills. There are certain skills that they are not just they are not in abundance in this part of the world that are like Mr. Kadri talked about. There are certain things that people here don't do. They might be considered little for them, little money, or they just don't like it. So people outside of the nation, outside of this part of the world, come in and then do those skills, helping enabling the economy go smoother. And also remember when the people are coming in, they're coming in with some funds, with some money. So when they come in, they're coming to buy stuff. They're going to buy properties. They're going to buy cars. They're going to make the economy go smoother. They're going to consume. And in all those properties they are buying and stuff, they are paying taxes to. They will work and also pay taxes to the government. So it's a 50-50, it's a win-win situation for both the people coming in for a better life and also for the host nation. So yes, immigration as it is today, I mean, has always been, but it's becoming, the more things become more sophisticated, structured, the more people find a way to, specialize, the more people find a way to milk the economic opportunities and advantages out of a situation. So that's my take on that.
Thank you so much. I just want I think in your own presentation, you talked about the fact that immigration is very strategic, which we all agree. I also talk about it's a way to gain economic advantage, because some countries have more advantage than other countries, because of course, all countries, not all, at least most countries in the world are members of the United Nations, but some countries have more advantage than other countries based on their strength, based on their human power, based on their capital, based on the resources that God had endowed them with, or based on the technology at their disposal, which is one of the ways through which immigration has also helped. So the next question will go to Mr. Audu. That okay, for me to say I want to live wherever I am, to go to another or other cities, what are the factors that make people decide to at least migrate? What are the factors that enhance immigration, Mr. Audu?
Sorry, thanks for the question. When you talk about my immigration, one of those things that will enhance it is the laws of the land. For example, the kind of laws and policies that a country have around immigration will determine how well or how easy it will be for someone to settle down or start a new life in a new place. So what are the policies in place? You need to understand what are the immigration policies in place, and you need to understand what kind of visa, if it is immigration. Migration can be limited, like Yinka said, even moving from your house, within a state is migration. Immigration is, you cross a border. So regardless of migration, immigration, there are policies and laws that guide those movements. Like Yinka said, of course, migration are regulated. So you need to know those regulations. And if you are immigrating, if you are traveling to Canada, for example, you need to know, what am I traveling for? Am I traveling for study? Am I traveling for business? Am I just visiting? You need to understand your purpose of travel. Then if you understand your purpose of travel, then you figure out what kind of visa do I want. There are some countries you go to, they are visa free. There are some it's visa on arrival, and there are some you need to obtain your visa even before you depart. There are student visas if you are study exchange visas. There are visitors visas. there are immigrant visas too. So depending on what you want to do, but generally, the laws of the land and the policies guiding the kind of, the immigration process of the country you are going to will determine how easy that will enhance your settling down. For example, I know for example, the humanitarian relief, asylum, for example, Canadian and US, they process asylum differently. In America, we have two types of asylum. It's either defensive or affirmative. You seek defensive asylum when you are coming from border, but you don't have papers to enter the country legally. But you seek affirmative asylum when you get into a country with your papers and you seek a lawyer to help you adjust your status. So in Canada, from what I know, at the point of seeking asylum, they start giving you some benefits to help you cushion the issues or your troubles. Now, in America, it's not like that. You don't get any benefit until you apply for asylum. Even as a defensive asylee, they take attention, do a lot of credible fear interview before they even hear your case. And you are not eligible for anything until you get granted asylum before you can start getting benefits. But in Canada, it's not the same. So these are things you need to understand about traveling, about movement. And I think one thing I've seen so much is that people sometimes are lazy to do research to really know what they need to, how they need to prepare, or what they prepare before they make travel. So generally speaking, number one thing that enhance traveling and settling down are the laws that guide movement to that particular place.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Audu. Mr. Audu just talked about a very, very important thing, like, of course, which really resonate with what Mr. Yinka said, that the law of the country can influence people, can make people decide how favorable are the laws. I mean, like, those laws, are they favorable? Are they pro-immigrant? Are they, anti-immigrant? For instance, in Canada now, I know that they have these pro-immigrant laws that are really, like pull and push factors. But yes, and that's why the next question will go to Mr. Yinka, because I know that a lot of people, I know Mr. Audu talked about asylum. I really want us to talk about that, but I'm coming to that. Now, people who leave their respective countries come abroad with expectations. Some even have bogus expectations. Some even, I know that, when we were back home, what some of us are seeing now, most likely are not really what the impression we had back home. A lot of people will easily be true. And of course, we know it's good to move, but of course, we should be able to, tell our people the truth so that the people will not have unrealistic expectations. So, Mr. Yinka, I know that people have a lot of expectations about coming abroad. What do you have to say about these expectations? Like, okay, I haven't been abroad because I know you've been abroad I know you've been here for like at least nothing less than 20 years now. So what would you say about people's expectations about coming abroad?
Thank you for the opportunity for this one. What people think the expectations. I remember when I was in Nigeria, the expectation was, we thought it was going to be like the movies and the videos and everything, because it goes back to what I said about how nations position themselves for for just everything. So that helps immigration. Soft power too. It's also a form of soft power. So that's why nations are trying to legislate and control immigration too. So expectations. Well, there must be an expectation for me, just like I said, for me to get up in the morning and go to work. There's a reason why I want to do that. So there's a reason why everybody does that. There's a reason why everybody gets up and does anything. Move from, okay, traveling from Lagos to Ibadan. But the only difference is that there are certain migration and immigration situations where you have all the you have more facts on hand than the other. Migrating from you can migration from Lagos to Ibadan or from Lagos to Benin. They're the same, almost, Lagos to Benin, and I'm talking Benin Republic, is closer than Lagos to Ibadan, but it's different countries. So it's a different, there are different factors to consider, and there are different expectations. Most people have traveled around Lagos. I mean, I've traveled around Lagos. They haven't gone outside Ogun State. Most people have traveled around Nigeria, and they haven't gone to Ghana. Most people have gone to Ghana a lot from Nigeria, and they have never even been past Ondo State. They haven't gone to the east, the south, or the north. So realities, expectations, and our point of views matter. So, and they are different based on different reasons: culture, religion, tradition, laws, and experiences, and even races. Because Europe, North America is a different race from Africa. Even South America is a different race from North America. So and then Asia too. So because people migrate to Malaysia, China. So there are different factors to consider as migrating to different places. But you can't get, until lately with internet and everything, you couldn't get those informations. You couldn't get those informations through by yourself. You had to depend on people that have been there before, or had to do extensive research. And we have to understand that research is not something that people from underdeveloped nations really have access to. Even when they have access to it, they don't understand the rigors of doing the research. So if you haven't experienced something, your point of view is different, you wouldn't be looking for it even while you're doing the research. So the expectations, I understand, once I've been here, I had expectations too. I'm sure people that, everybody that's abroad had expectations in coming abroad. Like I said, when you wake up, you have your expectations. But once you get here, your expectations are different. But like Mr. Kadri said, expectations are a different thing. Everybody has that. That's a personal opinion. But the laws are not personal. The laws are facts. This is what happens when you do this. This is what you need to do if you want to do this. These are the ways you have to do certain things. Developed nations are not structured enough to have standards like that. Like I know in Nigeria, there are ways we could get passports. There are ways we could get visas. There, somebody, this, you know that, this, you know that. But in this part of the world, structures are structures. So you have certain ways you have to be able to come into the certain countries. If you're coming to visit, you have to come through a visitor visa. If you're coming to study, come in with a study visa. If you're coming for PR, for a permanent residency, you have to come in as a permanent resident or have a pathway to a permanent resident. And if you're coming as a refugee, you have to come in as a refugee and be prepared to defend and then verify that you are really being persecuted where you're coming from and you really need that asylum. So, but in the developing nations or the developed nations, they haven't. That's why they are called developing or developed nations, because they haven't developed their systems to that extent. So it's a different reality. It's a different reality, different point of view, different system. So how the reason here is different from how the reason there. So people cannot understand, I'm going to Ibadan, I'll go to Benin, I just go to the border, I go to Ghana, okay, I just get a visa and I go there and even now, even the developing nations are changing. Even with the EU, AFCTA coming and everything, the laws of Nigerian border system is changing. It's going to change next year, by January 1st. Most people don't know that. They don't even understand that's happening. It's going to change. The laws of Nigeria's immigration, it's going to be outside of the Nigerian legislation. So it's going to be decided by Africa. Most people don't know that. The ECOWAS situation, to most people don't understand it. So most people coming from the underdeveloped nations don't have that. Like I say, expectations are different. It's a personal thing. You immigrate because maybe you want to go and get married abroad, or your brother is abroad, you want to go and join your brother, but basically it's money. You want to make more money, you want to improve your life, you want to improve your that. And now let me get to your expectations now. Because the laws are the laws. For the laws, right? Either you do your research or you ask somebody or you hire somebody, and that's where people have to be very careful hiring agents and hiring this, because most agents, they are just like most people. They don't, they just put the application together and submit it based on their limited information and knowledge. But like I said, the laws keep changing, things keep changing, and things are not as, it's not just simple, it's complicated. So if you're going to get an agent to do something for you to travel, if you don't have that information, you don't have the time, and you don't have the logic of doing the research, at least spend a little time to research about your agent. That's the ground. That's the ground. That's for the fact. That's the law. Then expectations. Expectations is that your country is your country. Let's be honest with yourself. No matter how bad the poor, excuse me, no matter how bad the country is, no matter how messed up the country is, the opportunities you have in your countries are different from the opportunities you have in another man's country. Because let's be honest with ourselves. Coming abroad, you are immigrating to another country. It's not your country. It might end up becoming your country in the future, but it's an expectation. That's also an expectation, and that will be your country. Your country is your country. You still, the effort you're going to put in another man's country, and the effort you're going to put in
Please,
your
can
own.
you, sorry, Mr. Peter, please, can you mute? If you
It's
are
not
not
my.
talking, can you mute?
It's not mine. It's somebody else.
No, not you, not you. If you are, please, if you are not talking, please, can you mute? Thank you. Okay, Mr. Yuka, please go on.
Okay, so
Sorry, moderator, you can mute everybody.
Yeah, the moderator can mute everybody except for.
You can mute everybody.
Okay, host, can you mute everybody?
Except for me, I guess I'm.
Except for the speaker. Okay, let's go on, please.
Okay, so expectations now. Expectations coming abroad. A lot of people have the expectation that it's all rosy. No, it is actually not rosy. It's a hustle. Everywhere in the world is a hustle. Everywhere in the world is you have to work, and you also have to understand that if you don't have the necessary skills, like I said, they are looking for certain things. That's why they are opening it up. They are looking for, if you don't have those things, life is going to be difficult for you abroad. We've got people that have gone to Libya and they ran back home. We've got people that have come abroad and they got deported because they know what they want. Yes. So it's a waste of time. You wasted 5 years, wasted 10. I'm not saying don't try, don't push it. People are lucky. People are, you get there and then you figure it out. But your expectations, you have to know that, okay, I'm going here. Some people should have that expectation. Okay, they have those skills. Some people say, I don't want to go back. I don't want to ever deal with Africa again. And some people are just coming just to get opportunities. If you're coming to get an opportunity, you can have a 10-year plan. Okay, come here, get your education or get your work experience, get some capital, get some credit, and then go back to where you have the opportunity. It's all up to you. Your expectation is your expectation, but you have to define it, plan it, do the research, and then if you want to go for it, go for it. So that's just my own opinion on that. That's my what I can give to people on that.
Thank you so much. Yes, for what you said there are structures. A lot of people are like where we are coming from, where we can easily cut corners. In this part of the world, there are structures. It is these structures that they build or they built their country on. They built it on structure. That's why when people misbehave, they can easily, take care of misbehavior, even in political era. There are structures in place that it's not about individuals. Unlike where we are coming from, that one individual can just, but of course, here too, individuals still, try to beat the structures, but at the end of the day, the structures will always ensure that at least things are done accordingly. And you also talk about, doing research. Like you don't just, it's just like going to the farm and you don't know, you want to go somewhere, you don't know why you are going there. Oh, they said this country is good and you are going there. For what purpose? Why are we going there? What do I want to do there? And I do tell people that your reason for going abroad will determine how long it's going to take you to succeed or to settle down. Averagely, I'm telling people, like if you're just coming here to visit, and you decide to, change your status, most likely it's gonna, take you, unless there is grace, because in every situation I believe there is grace, and of course, but on a normal circumstance, it's going to take you a longer time than somebody who has gotten a job from home, maybe one of those visas, because we're going to get into visa very soon. But somebody who has gotten a visa from home and gotten a job that they are giving him a job here, it's going to be easier for that person, because the person is already coming with all the required, authorization and everything. But somebody who is just coming, so we should pay attention to that, so that it's not about, we're not talking about not coming, we're just trying to talk about doing that diligence, do that research, be diligent in your research, so that you'll be able to know what you're going to face when coming abroad. Now, the question to Mr. Audu is, coming abroad, what are the challenges you face coming abroad, and have you been able to overcome these challenges? It's because I want people to learn, and also want them to pick one or two things, because we are not here to lie to them. We are not saying abroad is not good. In fact, it is good. But we are saying that when you are coming, put your house in order, and have realistic expectations. So, Mr. Audu, what would you say? Are the challenges you came across? Coming abroad, and how did you overcome these challenges?
All right, thank you for the question. I'll answer this question in two prongs. One, I'll talk about my own experience, and I'll talk about general experience, because I work with immigrants, and on a daily basis, I meet people who need immigration help to resettle. So just like me, I came here under a humanitarian purposes. Although before I came here, as a human rights activist, a public health advocate, I've been coming to the United States since 2010 for conferences. I was here in 2010 for an HIV conference in Pittsburgh, and in 2012 I was also here I was in DC for another conference. And in occasions I went back to Nigeria, because I was working. I had a job in Abuja, and I had a family, a beautiful family that I cannot just leave them. So yes, that was in 2012. But in 2014, the work I do, like I said, I'm a human rights advocate, a public health advocate in Nigeria, and I was working with the most at-risk population. And when my work became criminalized in 2014, the Nigerian government passed a law that regulated how we provide services to the most at-risk population in the HIV fight. Because in the HIV fight, we have people we regard as most at-risk population who are the drivers of the epidemic. And this population are gay men, sex workers, and drug users. And this is because of the kind of behaviors they have, and because HIV is sexually transmitted. So this was my work in Nigeria, and I was getting funding from the United States, USAID, UNAID, to do the work I do in Nigeria. So as of 2014, when the Nigerian government passed a law that criminalized same-sex relationship, and by extension, organizations and activists who are advocating. So I got a call from some of my colleagues abroad who were worried for what was going on. And at that time, my office was attacked. My office in Abuja was attacked because I had attended some conferences where I called out Nigerian governments. I called them out on the lip service they were paying to HIV services in Nigeria. And, few days after the law was passed, like I said, I got this call, and this was because already within the HIV work among minorities in Nigeria, people are already hearing attacks. And because I document human rights violations, these attacks were very rampant. So I got this offer to come here, and When I came here as an asylee who came here to seek asylum. Although I didn't have to pay anything, I got support from the organization that brought me here. And they were part of the organization that helped me in 2012. They gave me scholarship because all my coming to the US previously were on scholarship. So it wasn't really too hard for me to resettle because I had, even before I came here, I knew what I was coming to do. I know what I didn't know was how long it would take for me to resettle, but I knew the pathway to how I'm going to resettle because I knew during my exchange with the person that was trying to help me was that, okay, we'll help you. When they even spoke about asylum, I didn't even understand what they meant. I was like, okay. And my understanding then was that maybe within 6 months I will be resettled, I can bring my family, you know. But when I came here, it took another 6 years before my family resettled with me. That's another story for another day. So basically, my major challenge was the culture shock in my own case. Because like I said, I had soft landing because I had support. I had housing, I had income, I was getting stipend, and I had opportunity to even volunteer my time. And in America, even volunteer time is considered work experience. You know, if you volunteer for any organization, that can pass for experience. And that helped me down the line. It helped me when I finally was able to work. So for me, I had access to free housing, I had access to income, I had access to job opportunities. But the challenge was that I was not eligible to work and the culture shock. In Nigeria, when you talk to somebody who is older than you are not supposed to look into the face of those people, for example, because of respect. But here, when you talk to anybody, regardless of age difference, if you don't look into their eyes, they think you are lying and you are a cheat. Okay, that's one. And two, culture is all about how people behave. It's not about ethnic cultures. We understand ethnic cultures in Nigeria the way it is, Igbo culture, Hausa culture. But when you talk about a country or a society, the culture depends on how they social interact, what they have built over time. So in America, their culture is quite different. When you come here, like Olayinka said, what you hear when you are back home is different from the reality on ground when you get here. When it meets you in the face, you'll be surprised. You know, one funny thing that happened to me, let me just share this. When I was coming to the US finally, is that in 2010, when I came here, it was in summer. I never saw winter. In 2012, when I came, it was in summer. 2010, it was in May. 2012, it was in July. So when I was coming in 2012, I came in, and 2014, I came in February, in the heat of winter. But because I didn't make any research or try to gather any information, I didn't even know it was going to be winter time in the US. I didn't prepare, I didn't even carry jacket. The only jacket I took was, you know, in Nigeria, when you are traveling abroad, you have to wear a jacket to show that you are traveling abroad. That's the kind of jacket I just took, not the one that will, you know, protect me from winter. When we were landing in JFK, and I saw white things. I never saw snow before in my life. To me, it was white sands, the type you see at the beach. This is me that have come to America twice. I didn't even know it was going to be winter in February. When I landed, and the people who were supposed to come and pick me, when they got to the airport, even at that time, I didn't even know it was going to be cold outside. It was when they opened the gate, the door, for me to get out and go to the car, that's when I realized that what's happening. It was so cold that I had to run back inside the airport, and people started laughing at me. They were like, what's happening? Are you know, well, didn't you know it's going to be winter? I said, I didn't know. So basically, if you are not informed, you are deformed. And you can't make informed decision on or based on misinformation. So generally, for me, those were my own challenges. But generally, when people come here and what you've been hearing outside the country before you come here, and you come here, you don't find out that it's a different ball game. That alone is a big challenge, because before you recover from that reality, sometimes you will lose it. And coming from Nigeria, a place like you rightly said, Mr. Temitope, is that this place, they have laws, they have rules that guides them. Nigeria is a free-for-all country, as far as we know. You can get anything if you have the right people in the right place. But here, you don't have to. In my work, I tell people always, come, this is America. Olayinka mentioned something, mentioned something very, very important, which is we don't have the luxury, or should I say, we are not a people who do research or search for information online. Yes, we understand the limitation we have as a country, in accessing internet, in accessing, the social media and all that. But even your phone, you can access anything on it, but maybe we don't prioritize that. But here, what I tell people, if you get to America, you don't need to know anybody to achieve what you want to achieve. All you need is the right information and the right resources. You don't need anybody at the top, at the presidency or in the Senate. You don't need all those things. All you need is information, the right information, and you have the right documentation to live in that place. That's what really matters. For example, when I was trying to bring my family here, the Senator Gillibrand, that was representing my constituency, I never met her. I don't even know her. But when I needed somebody from my constituency to reach out to USCIS, my lawyer reached out to her. She wrote to me, and she did the work she was supposed to do. It can never happen in Nigeria. Do you even know do you even have the luxury of talking to your senator? We don't even have that luxury. So here, it's very difficult if you don't have information. The basic thing you need is information.
Thank you.
Wherever you are.
Thank you.
How do you access housing? How do you access healthcare, which are very, very important things. With job, you'll be able to feed your family. With healthcare, you are healthy to work. And with housing, you won't be homeless. These three things are very, very important in a human's life. So basically.
Thank you so much, Mr. Audu. The reason why the motive behind that question is a very, very important question, because I want people to learn. You see, we deliberately chose people we are talking to today. I know them personally, and I know that they have different stories. So Mr. Audu, I just told us that, of course, he came to this country, and he was able to because a lot of things have been lined up for him. Of course, I mean, even though he knew what he was coming to do, he knew. Of course, what he didn't know is how long it's going to take him to really start doing, or to get those things done. But he knew what he was coming to do. And I know Mr. Yinka's story may be different. Mr. Yinka, what are your experience coming abroad? What are the challenges you faced, and how did you overcome these challenges?
Well, thank you. Coming abroad, like Mr. Audu's, did he say that? No, he didn't say that, but I think I mentioned it before. He mentioned about the Canada and the US, and then how asylum works. I said he also mentioned studying. Yeah, I don't know if everybody was here when he said that. That was earlier in the beginning. Studying, traveling. Visiting, working. There are different ways to come abroad. We're talking about North America now. So, but our audience, I don't know where most of our audience are from, but I'm thinking majority of us, we have a Nigerian background, or we're from Nigeria, majority, maybe not be all, but so people can migrate to South Africa, they can migrate to Ghana, they can migrate to Europe, they can migrate to Asia, they can migrate to North America, South America. My experience is in North America, USA, and Canada, as my bio shows. Yes, like Mr. Topper said, my experience is different from Mr. Cowdery. I lived in the US for 10 years and I've lived in Canada for 10 years too. So I can, I mean, although my experience in the US has been 10 years, it was 10 years ago, I still follow the US immigration because I still help people to travel to the US and then study in the US too. So I follow it. Although we've for the past 4 years with your we have it has slowed down, but we still follow it because it's news everywhere in the world. My experience is different from Mr. Kadri because Mr. Kadri, as he explained, he had it laid down for him and it came via the asylum, humanitarian, and compassionate ground. Mine, I came as a student to the United States of America. So I came as a student, and after you finish studying in America, you have your OPT. You can work for a while. Then after that, you have to get a job to get a H-1B to regularize your situation in the U.S. If you don't get a job, then you can be stuck. You're stuck for a while. But when I got to the U.S., I think they're trying to change it now. As an F1 student, you could still regularize your stay even after being in the country, even after overstaying your visa and also your status in the US. If you could still regularize, you were allowed to legally regularize it if you had the right application in. So that was my route. Concerning about my what was what we should be mindful of challenges that we faced, right? Mr. Cardi talked about culture shock. I guess maybe because I was younger, I knew that okay, snow, and I traveled a bunch of times, different, I seen snow and everything. My culture shock wasn't snow. My culture shock was just living with different people. They have every country, the farther away you are from your home, the farther away the thought process is. Everybody thinks differently. When I got to the United States, the thinking process was different. It was extremely different. I had a family here, so I had support. I had uncles here. I had uncles from both sides here, so my support was there. But when I moved to Canada, I didn't have family here, so that's why I'm trying. I spent 10 years in the U.S. So I kind of I had a bit of understanding of how their system works because it's almost the same, but it's a little different, but it was almost the same thing. Now imagine somebody coming from Africa to a new world like that. And that was 20 years ago, where they had systems and structures, but it wasn't as definite as it was because it was just after 9/11. So it wasn't as strong as how they are now with immigration. Then they were a little more relaxed with immigration. But now they are so now immigration is a very serious topic. I mean, you can see it's winning elections and losing elections. It's so serious that almost all news channels in the US are talking about it. So now it's no longer in the background. Now it's in the forefront. So somebody coming from outside of the United States or outside of Canada, outside of Europe, I think China and Asia still they develop, but there's still a complication with the immigration process there. But with these Western nations, you have to know what you're doing. Your first thing is you have to know why you want to leave your country. I understand the countries, African countries are, like Mr. Kadri said, they have issues, if you want to get something done, you have to, somebody just sent a chat, you have to grease palms, their envelopes and everything. But we also have to understand that majority of us lived and grew up in that system. So in as much as we might not agree with that system, we might not be comfortable with it. We might abuse it. We might that's corruption. We have to understand that we are also a part of the corruption. The people that live there are also a part of the corruption, because to survive you have to be a part of it. Corruption in developing nations is not just Nigeria, even in China. In all these other nations, corruption is an industry on its own. It's a thriving industry on its own, and everybody's a part of it. So we might say, oh, yes, yes, yes. But remember, when you get your passport, how you going around your driver's license, doing this, doing that, even getting something that you should not naturally get that you have to grace a palm for, you are also enabling the corruption. So you are psychologically, the way of you doing things. That's why a lot of people come here and say, I can't wait to go back to Nigeria just to relax. Yeah, put my feet up and let corruption, participate in corruption for 1 month and come back here to the civilized world. So if you have to know why you want to leave. And so if you know why you want to leave, then you can know where you want to go, which country. So those are where research come into play. Why, where, which country. If most people want to travel to North America because they feel it's more structured. It's like Mr. Kadri said, the cultural way of life has enabled development, sophistication, civilization, and an easier way of living. So people want to come here and then benefit from what they have done before. So if that's the case, right? If that's the case, then you have to also know when do you want to move? When is it convenient for you? And to know when, you have to know the sacrifice you have to give. There's a sacrifice to migration everywhere. Even like I said, waking up and putting gas in your car, going to work. There's a sacrifice. There's certain things you have to do. What do you have to do? What are you sacrificing? What are you leaving behind? Mr. Kadri said for 6 more years he hasn't seen his family. Me, for 12 years, I didn't see my family, my sisters and brothers, for 12 years. So there's a sacrifice you are going to leave. You might not know the sacrifice, but know that, at least know the ones you can know. So that when the other ones come, the other ones are added, at least you're not too shocked. At least the ones you can see, you have taken account of that. So know the sacrifices of migration. And then the cost of relocation, if you want to relocate. There's a traveling cost. There's a visa cost. And then there's proof, there's a reason why they ask for proof of funds. Because for the first 1 year, you might not get a job. You've heard about situations where brothers are chasing brothers out of homes. Sisters out of homes abroad. They go back, my brother chased me out. No, it's a different ball game out here. I was having a conversation with my sister on my way to the office to get this. She's staying with us. I was telling her, she's considering going back to the US. She's like, okay, should I go back to the US? She has a H-1B opportunity. And she's like, I want to buy a car too. I'm like, okay, you have to make your decision up before you buy that car, because I have my own issues, and you leave, you can't be expecting me to ship the car to you, or you can't be expecting me to sell the car or figure out what to do with the car. So you have to make up your own decision before you make that decision. So the costs. So there's, not just a sacrifice, there's also a cost for it. So what are the costs for doing it? Okay, then traveling, okay, that 1 year, you might not get a job. So what happens when your funds, your 10,000 that you thought you had is running down? If you are a doctor, if you are a pharmacist, you don't have the work experience in this country. You don't have that. So you might have to take many other jobs, survival jobs. They call it survival jobs. Are you ready to do that? And if you're going to take survival jobs, what is your means of immigration? So majority of people to the US, they come, okay, they say, I'm going to do travel. When I get there, I will marry. I will do this. I will do that. If you are a fine boy back home, does not mean you're going to get a wife immediately. If you are a beautiful woman, does not mean you're going to get a husband immediately. Even if you have an arranged marriage, anything could happen. So taking that into consideration, take all that into consideration. Now, I'm even talking about the arranged marriage for Indians, because I have Indian clients too. They've been arranged marriage that, which is what they do. This is not fraud. This is not this. The majority of them are arranged marriage. They go there, and they cannot stand each other. Or the partner or the person with the citizenship cannot stand the foreigner because it's a culture shock for them. So the person is stuck. So those sacrifices, and also the cost, if all that happens, how are you going to survive? Do you have extra change, extra money, all that to do that? And then your family support that you're leaving behind. Mr. Kadri, I'll go back again. Mr. Kadri said 6 years. And he wasn't, and this is someone that's his, mine is different because they are siblings. My parents could still take care of them. My parents, I just miss my family. But these are people that depend on him. Then there's that frustration going back and forth. Oh, you don't have a job. You've taken all the money that we're supposed to spend. You are using it. So what, okay, so how, there's that frustration, there's that, you have to take all that into, you have to take all that into consideration if you want to make that, if you have a family. If you're single, oh well, but also remember that if you're single, it's harder to get that visa because you don't have anything tying you down to your country.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yinka, for that. Really, you really did justice to that question. Now, because you have answered 2 of my questions, so I'm gonna go to Mr. Audu. Mr. Audu, I know Mr. Yinka has talked about some challenges he faced in just like both of you agreed that a cultural shock. Of course, I remember one day when I was doing my graduate program at Western Michigan University and I lost my ID. And of course, every day people talk to me, you have an accent. Some people will even qualify well and say, your accent is pretty. It's pretty. I know that they just want to let me know that, okay, you are different. Though you look whitish, but you are still different. So I'm used to that every day. But one day I went to the police station because I lost my ID and somebody said, I'm going to call your name. I said, don't worry, because a lot of people have been having issues with my name. And because it's Temitope means we are grateful. So, but she said, I'm going to call my name. Do you know what she called me? She called me Tomato. So, I'm used to that every day. And those are also the challenges, people not knowing how to pronounce your name and all of that. Mr. Kadri, what are the challenges? Basically, I just want you to also share, because I know we are talking about challenges. You answer that. What are the things to be mindful of when you are coming abroad? What are the things? So you go straight to that. But I know Mr. Yinka has answered that, So what are the things one should be mindful of when you are coming abroad?
Yeah, I think, like you already said, Olayinka has done, justice to that question, but we cannot state these challenges. They are multi-pronged. They are many, right? Okay, I will share one story, one pathetic story, then, now talk about things to be mindful of. Basically, is the law of the land. They have a law. You need to understand what are the do's and don'ts for an immigrant. You need to understand the cost of living. Even before you move, do you have what it takes to move? I met a Nigerian in 2016. When I met this man, it was in winter, a Nigerian from Oyo State. According to him, when I met him, a friend of mine who were in the same program brought him home because this my friend does not speak Yoruba. Me, I speak Yoruba, and he met this guy. The guy is a Yoruba speaking Nigerian, but my friend does not speak Yoruba, and he was so excited to bring him home because he felt I will be able to communicate with him and understand his problem, because he was a social worker who met this Nigerian in the snow, because Americans, they'll have programs to get people out of the snow or winter during winter period, so people don't die and become liability to the government. So it was in that process that he met this guy. So when he finally came to my house and I was interviewing him, what happened? He told me when he was coming to the United States, he didn't even want to come to the United States. He had applied. I need somebody who is not educated. He was a vulcanizer. He does vulcanizing job in Ibadan. So he said he applied for Qatar visa, but they denied him. While he was lamenting and complaining, somebody now told him, "Oh, I can do American visa for you." He didn't even believe he was going to be successful. But at the end of the day, he got the visa. When he got the visa, he sold all his belongings. He sold all his belongings, his machines, everything, and he had about 10 million naira converted to dollars and brought it to the United States. No information, nothing. When he got here, he met somebody who they introduced to him through somebody. When he came, the person welcomed him and they started extorting him because he came with money. By the time the money was running short, They threw him out. When they threw him out, he went to the hotel. From the hotel, he paid, and he exhausted his money. And that's how he became homeless. He was on the street. When he told me his story, I was shedding tears. This is a man that left 6 children, had a job. And when he got here, the expectation he had disappeared. Frustration came in. When I saw this guy again, and after that time, you know, I spoke to him, gave him some things, you know, we spoke. But there's little that I can do for somebody like that. It's not Nigeria that we are cultural. We are not here. People are not cultural here. It's only in Nigeria that you can settle things or deal with things culturally. You call your people, they settle it. Here, even a father and a son will go to the court and settle their matters. It doesn't mean they will not talk to each other again. It's in Nigeria that they will say, until they can cash because we are cultural people. Here, they don't have that culture, you know, community. But they believe in their system to settle issues for them. So for me, there is more that I can do. The government is taking care of him, and even me, I didn't have my papers at that time. So that's an example. That story will tell you a whole lot about what people are facing, what people face when they don't have the right information or they don't make informed decisions before they travel. You know, so it is very, very challenging. Like I said earlier, I said you can't make informed decisions on or based on misinformation, because it's very key. Olayinka mentioned that word, but we don't. I want us to really focus on that word: information, research. If you have to travel at all, number one, what information do you have about that country? How do they live in that country? What are the laws? What are the kind of visas, you know, that you need? How much do you need? Housing, job, healthcare, these 3 things, how are you going to go about them? It matters a lot. That's why, you know, in my line of work, because on a daily basis, I meet people with all these challenges. And the work I do here is to connect them to the services they need. And it takes a whole lot. Sometimes it's even overwhelming for me to listen to people's challenges. You know, so we can't you know, overflow the fact that people are facing challenges in starting a new life in a new country due to misinformation or due to people not understanding what it takes to go to this country or why they need to go to this country, you know. But knowing, you know, how to even start sometimes is very difficult if we don't have those information. So here we provide, you know, all that. If time permits, I can share, you know, some of those things we do here to ensure that people who migrate to this place or African immigrants especially are able to, you know, have stuff like that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Audu. Please, the reason why I don't want to mute everybody is because I felt that one or two people, we've had this problem in the past, that some people have problem on muting themselves. So please, let's mute ourselves so that when our noises in the background don't interfere with what we're saying. So thank you, Mr. Audu. You just talked about the need for information. You can't make informed decision based on misinformation. Yes, you can make informed decision based on information, and you must know where and you must know why. You know, you must know why and where. You know, why are you going? Where are you going? Don't just say, they said they are traveling, and that's why some people will go through the desert. You must know why and you must know where. Mr. Yinka, I have this important question. We have a question on the chat, but I will read this question. But I want you to say, Mr. Yinka, coming to Canada, what are the types of visa we have in Canada, and what distinguish one from another? It's like if you want to, let's say I want to immigrate, I want to migrate to Canada. What are the types of visa that I can use to come to Canada, and what differentiates one from another? Mr. Yinka.
Thank you, Mr. Temitokwe. First thing about visas, they're like permissions to enter a country. So there are two various types of visas, and this is generally worldwide. There are two various types of visas. There's the temporary resident visa and then the permanent resident visa. Now, the temporary resident visa is for you to come in for a while and then return back to your country. You do not have any, the only rights you have are for the specific purpose you're coming in for. If it's to visit, to study, or whatever. So it's that's it. You come in and then, there's a time limit and you go back. There are multiple entries, single entries, but it's a time limit. There's a time limit, then you go back. And then there's the permanent one, the permanent resident visa, which allows you to stay in that country, work, earn a living, pay taxes, have some rights and responsibilities in that country, and then not be and then also it's like a probationary period. Then in some instances that permanent residency makes you eligible after meeting certain requirements and criteria to become a citizen of the country. In certain countries, it is not allowed. So now let me quickly get to the temporary residence visas. Temporary resident visas, they are basically three types. That three types can fall under different, they are different. Some of them they call it K1, even the US is KPP, all these visas, right? But in Canada, it's basically for it's basically three types. I mean, there's more than that, but it's three types, and then even the three types is broken out more. There's the visiting visa, the study visa, and the work visa. The visiting visa allows you to visit Canada, and in that visiting visa, there's also the transit visa in it. So you can, if you're just transiting through Canada, you have to get a transit visa. That is, and all these visas are necessary for people. Visas are, like I said, visa is like a permission to get in. It's like a stamp that is put on your letter of request, which is your passport from your country. Your passport from your country is a letter from your country. So that's why most people see when anything happens, the government says the passports, they take the passport, blah, 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 because the passport is necessarily not yours, it's the government's. So it's like a letter of request, identifying you as a member of the sovereign or a member of that nation, and asking for the government that they order new government. So passports are usually given to government. You see that you give it to a government agent or government official. So it's who is designated by the minister, who is designated by the president or the prime minister or whatever, the monarchy of that nation, to allow you permission into their own sovereign nation. So the visa is like a stamp put on that letter of request when you ask to get into the country. So it's a stamp that, okay, any other designated official looks at it and says, okay, based on certain requirements, okay, the government has allowed you to come into our country for social purposes. So that's what the visa is for. So there's this, I've talked about the visiting, and then there's the study, and then there's also the working visa. In Canada, I'll talk more about Canada now. In Canada, there's a two-way system. You get your study visa to come in. That's the visa is just for you to enter. It's an entry stamp. That's all it is. Then once you now get in, you need a permit to do the other things you want to do. If you want to study, if you want to work, you need a permit. So in Canada, it's called a study permit. So basically, you are applying for. So outside of Canada, you are applying for a study permit. If you want to work, you are applying for a work permit. So once you get approved for that work permit, then the consulate that you applied for in your country or wherever will give you a visa to come to Canada, and then the designated body, which is the CBSA, Canadian Border Security Service Agency, Canadian Border Service Agency, is the one that will now give you the permit that you've applied for, that you have been qualified and have been approved for. When you get to the border, they'll give you the permit. Okay, now you can go and study under these conditions. Or you can now go and work under these conditions. So you have people that do not need all that, diplomas and all that, but they still need a visa. So those are different categories of visas, but they still fall under the temporary resident visa. or the permanent resident visa. And then those ones have their own restrictions. So those are, if you're in a diplomatic section, you don't need to talk to us. Your government will talk to the government and then they will get it for you. But we're talking about people that are not diplomats here. So if you're not a diplomat, there are 3 temporary residents for Canada. There's the study, work, and then visiting. And then there's also the temporary resident permit. They are, in all immigration matters, there's what you call inadmissibility. Meaning there are certain factors that have to be checked before you are allowed to come into this country. In the US, too, is the same thing. In Nigeria, there are certain factors that have to be checked. One, your criminality. They don't want criminals in their country. So there are certain criminal activities that if you have engaged in, convicted, indicted, or suspected of, you will not be given a visa automatically. Security concerns. If your name is on certain security lists, or you have, your name, it might not be you, it might just be someone that bears your name and same birthday, you're out of luck. Those situations arises to security concerns. You might not have been convicted, but they know that, their spy agencies have determined that you are a person of concern that should not be allowed to get into the country, that you might destabilize their country. You are coming in for criminal purposes or for espionage or for terrorism purposes. They will not allow you in. What Mr. Audi said again before earlier, misrepresentation. If you have been caught of misrepresenting yourself, sorry, Mr. Audi didn't say that. I think it was an earlier conversation I had, sorry. If you have been caught misrepresenting yourself, or you are caught in that application misrepresenting yourself, saying you have funds that you do not have, saying you are a member of something that you are not, lying to their government, or have a history of lying that can be that can be reasonably deduction, that your application has something that is reasonably thought out to be a lie, you will not be allowed to enter. So those ones, once you check those ones, then you can now apply for study, work, and then for Canada, because Canada has something the US does not have, we have a free healthcare system. So you must be medically admissible. That's why you see people saying, they're doing medicals to come to Canada, they're doing medicals to study, they're doing that. So you must not be a burden to their healthcare system. You don't have, cancer, your high blood pressure is not too much. And don't get it twisted, even if you have all those things, HIV or whatnot, there are ways an experienced and a knowledgeable and regulated Canadian immigration consultant can help you explain the situation and write to the government to enable them give you that admission. So it's not all doom and this thing if you have, certain kind of sickness, HIV or all that. But they are trying to avoid people that will come and be a burden on their welfare system or on their healthcare system. So that is for temporary residency. So a student, work, and then visiting. For students and work, you have to have a school you want to get into, you have to have an admission, you have to be admitted, and then the school has to be a designated learning institution. You cannot just go to school in Katawanje, a school that says the high school. No, the school has to be registered with the CIC or IRCC, Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada. They have to be registered. Their curriculums have to be scrutinized. They have to be, this school is not just a school in the basement. It's not a school in the yard. It's not just a school that's giving out visas. This is a school that's really a school. So you get that. And then after that, you have to prove certain things. You have to prove that you are really coming to Canada to study. You will go back after you study. You have ties back to your home, and you can afford to study, not just study, to survive, for your feeding, for your housing, for your everything. Because if you're studying, you're not allowed to work. And because you're allowed to work for just 20 hours a week, and that 20 hours a week is very minute. It's just for you to pay your cell phones or something, just to keep you busy and stuff. It's not enough. It's not enough to cover your cost of living. So you have to have enough of that. And if you're being sponsored, the person that is sponsoring has to have enough for all that, plus their own lifestyle back home. If they have 2 children, they have to have enough for themselves and the children and the wife. So all those are taken into consideration. And for work, you have to have a job offer. You have to have an employment offer. A company in Canada, a reputable company in Canada has to be willing to sponsor you. And then you can get a closed work permit. There are open work permits, but those are, like I said, those are government to government relationships where you have, like the United States, you have trade laws, you have trade. It used to be NAFTA, it's USCMA now. It's a different. It's NAFTA 2.0. That's what we call it because it's a new word now. NAFTA 2.0. Setting treaties with certain countries. Those are the ones that give open work permit, or certain treaties with the United Nations. Like refugees now coming to Canada, and then refugee claimants have open work permit. But if you're not in that, if it's not an international treaty with your nation, you are going to come on a closed work permit. That means you're coming to work for that company and that company only. You cannot work in another company. You cannot work for another company unless you get permission to do that. You cannot work in another profession. You have closed professions and closed company. So sometimes you can only work in that profession and you can work for different companies. But sometimes you can only work for that company, for that title and that position. You cannot be promoted. If you're promoted, you need another work permit. So that's for the temporary resident visas. And then the PR, which is what majority of people have heard about, and if we hear Canada, but that's what majority of people from developing nations want, the permanent residence. Permanent residence are 3 forms. There are only 3 ways to get it. The sponsorship, the family sponsorship, the economic applications, or the humanitarian and refugee, humanitarian and compassionate / refugee system. So for the family sponsorship, you are either a spouse, a parent, grandparent, or children, or family member, last remaining family member of the person, or adopted. So they are, it's complicated, but I just give you the basics because I know I'm taking a lot of time. And then economics is the express entry system where your skills are what they are looking for. It's not just your skills now. They are looking for people that are not just going to be skillful, but people that can assimilate quickly into the Canadian system, that can fit in quickly. So your age is a very big determining factor. The younger you are, the higher your chances of migrating. Your English language or French language proficiency, because in Canada we speak English and French. Your work experience, your educational qualification, and your ties to Canada. Because if you have ties in Canada, you can quickly assimilate. If you worked in Canada, you studied in Canada, you have family in Canada, it's easier for you. You will not go back. They don't want people to come here and then start, making money and send their money back home. They want people to be here, spend their money here. That's, it's an economic purpose. That's why it is. It's for their benefit. And so you have to make it benefit both of you. And then there's the humanitarian, compassionate, and for the express entry, there's a lot of it, but I don't have time for it. But I'm just giving the basics. And then the humanitarian and compassionate and refugee way. Refugee system is where you're being persecuted by your home country or somebody in your home country or for a reason in your home country. And for that, you have to be persecuted by, there are some grounds for it, but the major grounds for it are, political persecution. If you're in a political group, you're being persecuted for your political actions or for your political associations, and your sexual orientation or your sexual identity, your minority identity or your religious identity. So there are other reasons, but those are the big factors for it. And for those ones, you have to show, there's a list of it. I'm sure Mr. Ali said there are differences in the US and the Canadian system, but I'll tell you the truth, there's really no difference. The differences are just semantics. The welfare packages that people get once they file for refugee are not federal welfare. I mean, yes, because healthcare is free in Canada generally. So so that's automatic. But the welfare system that they take care of is not the federal. It's a provincial thing. It's a state thing. Like in Canada, we have provinces. Everywhere else, you have states. So the welfare system and all that is province. So after you file for refugee, you've tried to claim your refugee. You are not entitled to anything. But because you now kind of have a legal status, although you're not a permanent resident, you're in limbo, but you still have status. Now the government, you're not illegal, but you're documented. You gotta be documented, so you can go on now file for welfare, because they don't want people being on the streets stealing and stuff, so they'll give you welfare for that. So that's that. And then the humanitarian and compassion is when all else has failed. All else has failed. You're either under deportation or you just can't you don't meet any of those criteria. So then you apply under humanitarian and compassionate reasons. So there are different humanitarian and compassionate in the best interest of the child, the best interest of the children, the best interest of Canada, public policies, just there are numerous if you're going to benefit Canada, a whole bunch of other reasons for that, but humanitarian
Thank you.
reasons. So those are the things to get.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Yinka, for that in-depth analysis. I really appreciate that. Though there's a question, but I'm not going to ask you to answer it now, but I want you to ponder on it. I will come back to you. And the question is, I think the question is, what can one use property instead of proof of fund for application to Canada? But I'm not going to ask you to answer it now.
It's just a 30 seconds. That one should be 30 seconds. Let me quickly.
Okay.
Properties, no, you cannot, because properties are not liquid. You could take forever for you to sell it. So what they want, the reason for the proof of fund is what Mr. Akaju said. For that 6 months, you won't get a job. You don't have a job. So how are you going to survive? So they want to prove that you're bringing in, you're not going to come and go under the welfare. So they want something that's quickly that can accrue to funds, liquid capital as soon as possible. So for properties, you will not be able to do that. But there are ways you can go, there are ways because it's all legality, there are ways you can go around it, but you have to play around with funds. You might have to juggle some funds, juggle some things around. But for properties, no, it's not a reliable form of proof of funds.
Thank you, Mr. Yinka. Once again, I guess before I go to Mr. Audu, I want to recognize some some of our guests today. I have Professor Kiyomi Akigbe, the General Secretary of Nigerian Foundation of Michigan and the General Secretary of Yoruba American Community. Thank you, Professor. He's a professor of computer science at the University of Michigan, Dearborn. Thank you, Professor, for coming. And also, I did see Mr. Amara. Miss Amala is the president, she's the founder of Young African United, a nonprofit organization in the US. I saw her briefly, and I saw also have Miss Catherine. Miss Catherine is the Chief Executive Officer of Nigeria in Diaspora. No, Diaspora Driven Nigeria, DGN. The CEO of Diaspora Driven Nigeria. I also have Miss Roslyn, who is also the Secretary of Diaspora Driven Nigeria. I also want to appreciate Mr. Samuel Ademoye, one of the elder distinguished members of our community in Michigan, who I can see here. I can see a lot of people. I just want to quickly put that there. Introduction continues while I go to Mr. Audu. Mr. Audu, based on what you do, again, I want to crave your indulgence because I know that this is why people are here, and that was why I didn't even I didn't try to stop Mr. Yinka, because I know a lot of people are calling in or even attending this conference for just that question. All those things we have been talking, they are not bothered, but they are just patient. So that's why I didn't try to, stop him. Please, we may need to, extend this by just 30 minutes or so that our people can at least get one or two things to take away from this. Hope you are giving me that concession, please. Hope I'm giving that approval so that we know that people can get knowledge from both countries. Mr. Audu, please. Based on your experience, based on what you do, I know I will still ask you to talk about what you do, which is or you can also bring both together now, so that because as we are trying to be mindful of time. Based on your experience, what are the types of visa that we have in US, and also what are you doing, or what's your organization doing? Mr. Audu, over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Temitope. To start with, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an immigration lawyer. But I work with immigration lawyers, and I work in the immigration setting. So when you talk about visas, I think Olayinka has done justice to the types of visas. I think generally visas are two types. In the US, in the Canada, there's no much different, like he said, like Olayinka said. But I just want to buttress. Let me just put it like this: what I want to add to what Olayinka has said, talking about type of visas, is that we have two categories of visas. You have non-immigrant visas, and you have immigrant visas. Okay, non-immigrant visas generally are visas that you get just for visits or for short stay. Student visa, business visa, tourist visas. These are non-immigrant visas. They are a whole lot. That's where you have B1, B2, you have F1, you have J1, you have a whole lot of type of visas under this category of non-immigrant visas. But generally, like I said, non-immigrant visas are visas that you get for short stay or short visit. You are expected to go back to your country after your stay, or like he said earlier, you came here for schooling, you have to go back after you finish your school. So that's for non-immigrant visas. Then another category of visas are immigrant visas. These are visas that gives you permanent residency or pathway to naturalization or a very long stay, right? So in the US, for example, we have also the B1, B2 visas for visitors. We have visas for students, for exchange, for business, and all that. So, and they have different requirements. That there are different requirements for these categories of visas. And again, I still reference what Olayinka said. If you are coming here for a short stay, for a visitor's visa, B1, B2, for example, you need to prove that you can sponsor your trip, you have ties to your country, that you are going to go back to your country, and you have the fund to sponsor your trip. You need to prove all this to get a non-immigrant visa. For any category of non-immigrant visa, you need to prove all these things. But for immigrant visas, you may not necessarily have to prove anything, but the person sponsoring you or filing for you, because under immigrant visas, you have family petition. Maybe you got married to a citizen, you get a visa, maybe employment visas, maybe work visas. These are immigrant visas that you don't need to prove much, but to prove that you are eligible or you are the person who's being petitioned for. That's the burden you have to prove. But for immigrant visa, is the person who married you, or the person who adopted you, or the person who is filing for you that has to prove that they have the means or wherewithal to take care of you. So basically, I just wanted to add that. I know Olayinka, like I said, already talked about the visas, the different visas, and I don't think there's too much difference between the visas you get in the US and Canada. Maybe the connotations are different. Maybe the way you call them. I know here B1, B2 is visitors visa, F1 is for students, R1 for religious, and but these are things we can research. If I know I want to travel, for example, I want to come and study, then I'll go online, look for what kind of visas do I want, and do I have the requirements? Do I have what it takes to apply for this visa? You apply based on your interests, your what you want, the purpose of your travel. So basically, that's what I wanted to add. I don't know if you had a second question to that question.
Yeah. That leads us to question about what does your organization do, briefly, so that in case some of our members, people who are attending, because the question will also go to Mr. Yinka, who are interested, or they want to, they need your services. This is an opportunity to say what your organization does and how you help immigrants.
Okay, thank you so much. I work currently full-time with African Communities Together, like I said earlier. And in my role, I help develop leaders among members, because African Communities Together is an organization of African immigrants fighting for civil rights and opportunities for African immigrants in the United States, and by extension, helping people abroad in Africa to ensure that, we have economic powers. So how do we do this? We do this in two ways. One is advocacy. We advocate for legislative changes, for policy changes, for introduction of bills to help cushion the challenges of immigrants. Because starting a new life in a new country is not easy. It's very challenging. We have discussed all that. Based on all these challenges that an immigrant will face in resettling or navigating the systems, they are huge. So that's why we need people on ground and organizations to help in connecting people to services. So one of the things we do, like I said, is advocacy, because we said earlier too that laws in land will determine how well you would assimilate in that country. So if there are laws that are hindering immigrants in settling down, then we want to change them. And we have done that, in New York City, in my organization. One of those things we did in 2017 was to advocate for the inclusion of French and Arabic in the top LEP languages in New York City. Most of our members are from West Africa. And in West Africa, we have more African and more French speakers than English speakers. And when these French speakers come to the United States, because they don't speak English does not mean they are stupid or they don't know what they want or what to do. But the challenge is language barrier. So why would people need to go through the trouble of learning English and all that before they can access services? Why not provide these services in the language they understand? And before then, we have other languages being used in New York City as a means to help immigrants, and French and Arabic was not there. They had Mandarin, they had Russia, they had Spanish, and some other Creole and some other languages. But as of 2017, with all our advocacy, going to the legislature to advocate and did all that. And by 2017, we won that campaign. Right now, as a French speaker or Arabic speaker, you can access any service in New York City without fear of language barrier. That's one. Two, still talking about advocacy. We've changed another law in New York recently that has given a lot of support and relief to undocumented immigrants. Before 2019, in New York State, you cannot drive if you don't have papers. You cannot get a driver's license if you don't have papers, if you are undocumented. And most people who live upstate New York don't have the transport system that we have in New York City. In New York City, you might not even need a car if you live in New York City, because you have 24-hour transportation, buses, trains, they go everywhere. But in upstate, they don't have that luxury of network. And people need to take their children and family to school and other places. And driving without papers is a crime. And people were being arrested, being deported for that reason. So since we were able to win the campaign, and we introduced a bill to allow undocumented people to be able to acquire driver's license. When we won that fight last year, like I said, it gave a lot of relief to people. So that's what we can do when it comes to advocacy, trying to help change laws that will help people, start a new life in the country. Another thing we do is service provision. We do service provision. One of those things we do in service provision is we connect people to free immigration services, free immigration legal services, because we know that in America or anywhere else for that matter, before you settle down, you need to do what is required by law. And who can help you do that better, more than a lawyer, an immigration lawyer? So we have this funding to help our people free of charge. We even pay immigration fees sometimes for some of our members who have challenge in paying immigration fees. So we have this funding from the city council to help hard to reach immigrants access free legal services. So when you come in, we don't encourage people to come and not go back to your country. We want we can't rule your life. But if you have decided that, okay, I'm here, I don't want to go back home, then we'll help you navigate the system. But we are not the one to tell you, come and stay here in El Dorado, because there are challenges here. So that's one thing we do. Connect people to free legal services, have a consultation with the lawyer, who will now determine what kind of relief you can, or you are kind of relief or humanitarian relief you are eligible for, or you're eligible to. So that's one. And two, we connect people to free healthcare. Yes, in New York City, the laws as regards insurance is different in each state. In New York City, we have funding to help people who don't have papers, people who are low income, to get healthcare in New York State. So we work with different organizations to help people who don't have insurance. And we also help with English as second language training, ESL trainings. We help people, we connect people to free English classes so they can at least learn the English, the American English. You know, most time when people come here and they start forming the kind of English they speak here, we think they are forming or they are trying to show that they've come here. No, because the way we pronounce our words sometimes is different from the way they pronounce them here. And when you pronounce it the way we do back home, you are passing a different message, totally. So you need to be trained, or you need to learn how to pronounce some words and how to use, English, because American English is different from British English. And Nigerians, we are trained in British English. So these are some of the things, we do. Also, we help people transition to their professional job in the United States. Because I think Olayinka mentioned it initially. Even if you are a professor in Nigeria, if you come to America and you don't have the required training, experience in this country, you can't do your job. You can't do the kind of job you are doing. You'd rather be doing a menial job, cleaning, security, and restaurant work. Most especially, that's what you do. But right now, you work with an organization that will help you transition to your kind of profession. The process. You apply, they look at your resume, they train you how to write your resume, and make you marketable to organizations that can employ you so that you can go back to the kind of work you were doing. And we've been doing that for professionals. Graduates, you come here, you have papers, but you need to have work permits to be able to benefit from that services. It's not for undocumented people. There are some services for undocumented people, but there are specific services for people who are eligible to work. So we help in this regard too. And we do a lot of work around job training based on your experience, based on your training, based on your interests. We connect you to the kind of job you can do based on all this that I've mentioned. And how do we do that? We do job readiness. We have talked about culture shock. We have talked about the American culture and how they do things. So this is what we do. We help people, give them the orientation and the training and the education they need to understand the American system of things, or how things work in the United States. So these are part of what we do. And right now, we are working on two campaigns. One of the campaign is, recently this current administration banned Nigerians from immigrant visas. We can't get immigrant visas to come to the United States. Nigerians cannot get immigrant visas to come to the United States. Even if you get married to an American today, you cannot come to the United States as a Nigerian immigrant, seeking immigrant visa because of that law. So right now, my organization and other organizations, we are filing a lawsuit to stop that law, and it's still in court. I gathered information and stories from who are affected or who are affected by that law. So we are in court. The second thing we are doing is we are trying to regulate the big owned companies there are bail bond companies in the United States that prey on immigrants. And most of the jails and detention centers in America are for profit. They have a profit, but that's another discussion for another day. But what we are doing right now is to ensure that these bail bond companies don't take advantage of immigrants, because when you come here as an immigrant, you are filing for immigration relief or whatever, you are put in detention. And for you to go back home and be coming for the process of your case, before they release you, you need to pay if you are granted bond, you pay the money. Sometimes it ranges from $3,000, $5,000 to $50,000. Quality of your case. Or, if the judge just feels you are a flight risk. That's how they determine how much you pay. And the funny thing is that if they don't, they will agree to give you that money. Now imagine an immigrant, for example, who's coming to seek asylum, who was held at the border, who was put in detention. Now they want to release you on bail so that you can continue the process of your case. You are asked to pay some money. Although the money you pay, you get it back at the expiration of your case. When your case is ended, you get the money back. But because most of these immigrants, they don't have that money to pay at that time, there are these bail bond companies who prey on the immigrants who are in detention. So they agree to pay that money. For example, your bail bond is $5,000. Now, this bail bond company will pay that $5,000 for you. And how they now make their money is that they now start billing you. They shackle you. They put this leg shackle on you to monitor you. And you now pay around between $350 and $420 per month for that shackle, so that you won't run away. And the $4,000 and the $420 you pay every month, and you don't even know how long your case will go for. So depending on how your case goes, if it goes for more than 2 years, for example, that means you'll be paying ×2 of what you are supposed to pay originally. And this money, these people will get it on top of all the money you are paying to them. So that is it's unimaginable how this bail bond company are raking immigrants. So we are introducing a bill at the New York State House of Assembly to regulate these nefarious activities, because it is criminal, very, very criminal. So that's the two piece of activities we are working on right now to ensure that African immigrants, when they come here, they are able to start a new life by ensuring that laws are favorable, at least dignified, to ensure that people live the kind of life they want to, not life of pity, So that's one. And two, connect people to the help they need to start living right. And let me, I know we don't have too much time, but let me just say what we did the last time during this COVID-19. We all know that in the United States, there was stimulus package, there is opportunity to apply for unemployment benefits if you lose your job during the COVID-19 period. But in New York City, we have over 800,000 people who are undocumented, who also lost their job over the other when the pandemic hit. And these people, because they are not documented, they are not eligible to work, they were not eligible for any stimulus package or unemployment benefit. We advocated to get some funds to help our members who ordinarily were not eligible for all this stimulus package. And this process opened my eyes again to the challenges that immigrants are facing. We're giving people, the highest we're giving people was $1,000. Depending on your family size, between $400 and $1,000 is what we're giving people. Testimonies and what $1,000 was doing for a family of 5, 6 is amazing. So we did that, and we helped over 1,000 people get this relief. And we continue to fight and continue to advocate for more more resources to help to help African immigrants. On the last note, recently we are doing Know Your Rights, a lot of awareness. Know Your Rights is a form of community awareness and education, where we educate people about their rights, telling them even if you don't have papers in the United States, you have rights. Even if you are undocumented, you have rights. Even if you overstay your visas, you have rights. All you need to do is understand those rights and be able to, exhibit those rights when the time comes. Last year, ICE, ICE is like immigration police in the US, immigration and custom enforcement people. Now, they said they were going to deport 2,000 people within a period of time. 2,000 people within 6 months, I guess. Now, after the period, they said they are going to deport 2,000 people. People were now asking them, you said you were going to deport people within this time, but you were not able to deport 2,000 people. You were only able to deport 35 people. What was the reason? And ICE, their response was, oh, all these immigrant organizations, they've saturated the community with know your right information, so everybody knows their right now. We cannot just, arrest any people. Man, to me, when I heard that, I was happy because that's, to me, a win. That means our efforts paid off. Because this is a country when you know your rights, you can invoke your rights and you can, claim your rights if you know them. It's only in our country where we are coming from because we've been so, oppressed. If we come here, we are even afraid of the police, right? You can, what you are supposed to do ordinarily, you can't do them because you feel you are still in your country. No, come off it. You have rights here. Even though, we know that you are still a second citizen here, at least they still afford you your rights. So basically, these are the things that we do on ground to ensure that when people come here and they don't want to go back home, they are able to start a new life and at least live a dignified life. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I have
so
a
much.
question.
Hold on, please. Thank you so much, Mr. Audu. We really appreciate all you do. Mr. Yinka, I know there's a question. Who has a question?
Catherine.
Oh, okay. My CEO, please, can you hold on, please? Because there's a question here that I want Mr. Yinka to answer. Then you ask your own. Then maybe we'll round up. But I know that we are taking time. Mr. Yinka, please, can you also share with us what your organization does for immigrants in Canada? And there's a question that I think is addressed to you. The question is this: knowing that the average Nigerian is the one who usually wants to migrate, they are the ones who feel the impact of the economy the most. How can you help them with proof of funds? The average Nigerian can't afford it. And even if they could borrow it, it's almost impossible to keep it for the length of time required. This leaves migration possibilities to only those who can afford it. It seems so that's the question. So, Mr. Yinka, as you are addressing that question, I also want you to use that opportunity to tell people what you do and how people can contact you. Thank you. And okay. Mr. Audu will also round up by saying how people can, contact his organization. Mr. Yinka.
Okay, thank you for this. First thing first. What we about a little about us, about me and my organization. Well, the name of the organization it's a company actually. It's an immigration firm, Aboway Immigration Incorporated. We are a regulated, licensed and supervised Canadian immigration firm located in Canada. We are supervised by the ICCRC, Immigration Consultant Council, Regulatory Council, Immigration and Citizenship Consultant Regulatory Council of Canada, which is now under the Immigration Refugee Citizenship Canada. They are the monitoring body now. We are now, I wouldn't say we are part of the Canadian government, but now we are our organization is in the Immigration Refugee and Protection Act of Canada. So we basically we are audited, licensed, and then regulated by the Ministry of Immigration in Canada. So that's our supervisory the supervisory designated body from the Prime Minister. What we do is that we provide immigration and immigration, refugee, and citizenship services to foreign nationals and even Canadians too. Some of them want to get married, so we provide those advice and services to them. And we specialize in procuring temporary and permanent residence solutions or visas and permits to our clients at very reasonable cost. Mr. Aldu said what he mean. Mr. Aldu is a non-profit organization. We are a for-profit organization. We're a company. So our job is to advise and guide, our clients on the best path along, and which is also the easiest path and the way to immigrate to Canada. We also help prepare and submit applications and also suitable supporting documents. Usually for us to proceed, our first step is to do an assessment to assess the person's eligibility and to see if and what the person or their family member can qualify for under the Canadian permanent, in the numerous Canadian permanent pathways or immigration applications. So we assess first before we go ahead. Before we even, let you waste your time and money, we assess you to know what you want to do, how, if you can go ahead, and if you can't, what you need to do to become more eligible to be in the immigration streams. And in Canada today, I'm sure, like I said earlier, Canada is expecting 1.2, we're expecting to approve 1.2 million permanent residence application in the next 3 years. That's that's over 300,000 and some 350,000 every, that's 400,000 newcomers every year. Last year, 2019, 12,600 Nigerians were approved. We're given ITAs, that's invitation to apply to Canada as a Canadian permanent resident. That's in 2019, 12,600. The government of Canada actually expects Nigeria. Nigeria is the third source country for new immigrants into Canada under the express entry. So there's India, China, and then Nigeria. So Canada is expecting Nigerians to apply more because of the economic opportunities in Canada, where, like I said, they are looking for certain kind of skills. So where those skills are, they're expecting Nigerians to apply more. And also because we speak English in Nigeria, so we have an advantage over a whole lot of other nationalities. And not just that, to our level of education and the belief in education. We in Nigeria, most people believe you haven't done anything unless you get your postgraduate degree. At least you have one postgraduate degree. So we have a higher number of people with that. So, and those are the things they're looking for. And we have a high number of youths too. So those things are what are the driving factors of economic immigration into Canada: age, educational qualification, and work experience and profession. So, and in Canada, we have an oil and gas sector, a booming ICT sector, and also the STEM sector. So Nigerians, although not practically ready for the STEM sector, oil and gas, we have a strong oil and gas industry in Nigeria. ICT too is increasing. So they're expecting a lot more people coming from Nigeria in the next couple of years. In that 3 years, for that 1.2 million people, they're expecting a high rate of Nigerians to be amongst them. So we help people navigate the best way for that, the best way, to prepare, and the best supporting documents. I will go the best supporting documents to present for that. So now, we also do citizenships, where we help people that are already in Canada become citizens. We help them in the preparation of their citizen and submission of their citizen. We know putting down applications on immigration matters or citizenship matters sometimes can be confusing, and sometimes you need a lot of research, and then you need a lot of knowledge to be able to navigate the questions. Some people don't have the time to do the research, so that's where we come in. For, like I say, for a reasonable fee, we help people do that. We also help people adjust their status. You have people that are visiting in Canada, or they are students who want to change their status to a more permanent one, or they are maybe they are on deportation proceedings, or they don't, their status has expired or whatever. We help them regularize their stay. So basically, for studying, if you want to, we help foreign nationals study, visit work or remain in Canada legally. So if your status has expired or you want to change, extend or change your status, we help with that too. Like I said, I keep saying it for a reasonable fee. Refugee. Also, I said Nigerians in Canada are the third leading source of immigrants for the economic applications. Now for the refugee, Nigerians are the number one source. And there's now a question that because Canadian government and the media authorities and the political authorities are beginning to question why Nigeria, which is not a war-torn country or a country with a huge natural disaster, is bringing in this amount of refugees. So there's that issue going on now. So people that are applying for refugee status has to be very, very careful in the application and how they present themselves. So we help people prepare for the interview section, the hearing section, and also we help represent people too. But we, for our company, we usually refer to a lawyer because there's what you call the legal aid fund in Canada. So if most refugees, refugee claimants, that's what we call them, do not have that much funds in the beginning. So we tell them we help them in their preparation. If they're coming from abroad, if they know that they are persecuted, and there's a high level of persecution, we help assess them to say, okay, if it meets the standards, okay, then you can go ahead and come to Canada, and then the supporting documents they need to take along with them. Because once you get to Canada, it's harder because if you're being persecuted to get supporting documents back home. So we'll help them with that. And also we let them know, like, okay, this does not amount to a level of persecution. And there's what you call internal flight alternatives. So if you're being persecuted, if you're in Borno State, Maiduguri, where there's Boko Haram, if you're being persecuted there's also Abuja and Lagos, which is a free state. So why didn't you go to those states? Or if you're in Benin and then your parents or your sisters or your uncles are the one persecuting you, well, you can always go to Lagos. Why did you have to come all the way to Canada where you don't have anybody, you don't know anybody? Why do you have to come to Canada when you can go to Abuja, you can go to Lagos? So those are the questions that people that want to file for refugee in Canada have to be ready to answer. And also you verify your proof. They have to verify your proof. Why are you coming to Canada? What is chasing you? You have to have a documentation of that. So there's a high Nigerians, are the number one refugee claimants in Canada as of this year and the year before and this year. It was India last year, but it's shifted to Nigeria now again. A majority of them are crossing from the United States. So there are irregular borders coming from Nigeria. Coming from the United States from Nigeria. They get a visa to Nigeria, to the US, and then they cross over. So the Canadian government has noticed that pattern. So they are wondering why that is. So they are scrutinizing it a lot more. So this is an information that you won't get anywhere. Majority of the applications get rejected and denied. 70% of Nigerian applications for refugees get denied. So people have to be very circumspect in how they present, if they are going to present an application for refugee. So we help them, prepare for that, and then also assess them and let them know if it's going to be considered a frivolous case or if the case is justified. Those are basically, what we do. What we also help, the express entry system will help people coming to Canada, and also students. We help find schools for students, and then we also help in the admission process, and the visa and permit application process. It's become very hard to get a study permit in Canada because of one, the Nigerian currency exchange rate falling, so it's harder to pay for it now, and two, the system of things are changing. Now they want you to go back to your country. So there are things that you have, the ways people put the application back in the days is not is not how you're supposed to put it now. Because now they are scrutinizing them a lot more. So things that people put before, someone would think that having a family member in Canada helps an application. Actually, it's neutral. Sometimes it's it's very negative to the application because it shows that after studying, you have more reasons to stay. Because if somebody in your family has stayed earlier, you have more reasons to stay. How you make the payment? So people say, oh, help because of the, like I said, the currency. Oh, I'll give you money, you pay for it over there. They want to see a link and a chain of payment from Nigeria. So if you can pay from here, it shows that you have somebody here, you have ties here. So it's it's become a little more complicated. So we help people apply for that and then for a reasonable fee. So question about the property, the proof of funds. Like I said, there are reasons why, like I said earlier, there are reasons why immigration is being legislated and regulated. They want what they assign, it's just like when you go out, when you open a store, they assign things you want from your customers. So, and when you go to a store too, they assign things you want from a store. These countries want certain things from their immigrants. They don't want them to become a liability. They don't want them to become a burden. Yes, because of the currency exchange situations in Nigeria, it's harder to prove to take those funds. People that are professionals, that that are educated, have good jobs, and their cost of living in Nigeria, it's maintainable. They're okay. They can afford those funds, and some can, but they just want to because they just they have those properties and they don't want to sell it. They don't want to they have those stocks. They just okay. I'm migrating. Why should I lose out? Why should I sell my properties? Why should I sell my properties? Why should I sell my stocks to migrate? I'll be honest with you. A country that's offering you immigration status wants your full concentration and your full life in their country. That's why they have. They just 30 seconds. Let me just finish that because that's why they have quicker path to citizenship. They want you in their country, body, soul, and mind. So if you have properties in your country and you want to keep it and you're okay, they're telling you okay. They know they want you to sell that property and come and buy property here. They want you to be here when you're here. So that's why they're looking for people that are young, people that will grow into the system, that it's harder for older people to come in. They want you to be here. So you having a property over there is detrimental to them giving you that immigration status. So they want you to either sell that or find a way to take your money out, your investment out of that country into their country. So that's why they make it hard for you to do all that. So that's my 10 cents on that.
Thank you so much for this in-depth explanation. I will now throw the floor open. This is the time we have been waiting on. If you have a question, please unmute yourself and ask question now briefly because we are rounding up. So I don't want, if you have any question, please unmute yourself, ask question.
Can I go ahead and ask?
Yes.
Is this for the Canada one or for any of them?
Any of them. They are waiting.
Okay, one towards the Canadian one. Thank you for all the information. That is really, really awesome. Thank you very much. The question I have is with regards to young adults wanting to migrate to Canada. I know somebody has spoken to me when I talked to them about my nephew and my niece. They said for you to have to go and for them to be there, there's a specific kind of exam that they have to do. And it's supposed to be like English literacy exam. I'm not really sure. But when I talk to another person, it's like, oh no, there's a deal with Nigeria. You don't have to do that because they know Nigeria is an English-speaking country. So there's all that conflict because you're talking to one person, they're giving you a different information from the other person. What exactly is it when it comes to education and whether there's any kind of specific exams or not going to Canada?
Okay, thank you, Catherine. About young adults in coming to Canada. That's why when I spoke earlier, I said we do an assessment first before we delve into okay, this is what you need, this is not what you need, because everybody is different, every situation is different, everybody's immigration path is different too. It's going to be different too. Mm-hmm. So basically, some people want to study abroad. That's what they want to do. Some people want to migrate abroad. So once we know your wants, then we do the assessment, then we can tell you, okay, this is your pathway. For studying in Canada, yes, both answers are right. Both answers are right. Depending on the school, depending on the program, depending on how you try to get in there, your affiliation with the school. There are schools where you have to do IELTS. There are where you have to test your English speaking. But majority of, like for us now, we can get a lot of people in without doing the IELTS, because some schools, a lot of schools too, and we know that Nigerians speak English. They've had Nigerians come in, and then they see how Nigerians operate and do, and how they are function in their school. So the question. The answer is yes and no. They need IELTS and they don't need IELTS. It depends on the school they are going to. So generally, that means they don't need IELTS. But also too, the person you might be asking, when you say you want to migrate to Canada, you said two things there. In the beginning, you said migrate to Canada, and then afterwards you talked about education. So it could be confusing. To migrate to Canada, you need to do the IELTS test. To permanently migrate, you need to do the IELTS test.
Okay.
To study, you don't necessarily have to do it. But if your goal is to end up being to migrate to Canada, even after studying and everything, there's what you call, to migrate to Canada, there are different pathways. It's still economic, but your ties to Canada brings you to Canada. So that's why some people say, study in Canada, and then you can, it makes it easier. It takes you to the top of the queue in the express entry system to become a Canadian permanent resident. So there's this, I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're in the US or this thing. The US calls it OPT. In Canada, we call it PGWP. That's the Postgraduate Work Permit. Once you study in Canada in a DLI, Designated Learning Institute, for 1 year, you are eligible for postgraduate work permit for 1 year. If you study more than 2 years, it's 3 years. So with that, you can work in Canada with an open work permit. Any company for any situation, you can work there. So if you work in a skill level OAB during that 1 year, you will become eligible for the Canadian Experience Class Express Entry Program, which is also an economic class program application. So during that time, you're going to do the IELTS, even though you didn't do it when you came for the education. Do you understand what I'm saying? So anytime you're applying for that PR as an economic immigrant, you are going to, your English language proficiency will be tested. So, but you don't necessarily need the IELTS if you're coming from Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll get your details and share it with them back home.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and the other one for Audu, it's not anything long. I just wanted to know with Mr. Audu, when there is a nonprofit in the US that is also doing not everything that you guys do, but they also do, I'll just give you straight what it is. Our nonprofits do what is called adapting to the American culture in conjunction with your country's value. So what we do is we teach them, help them with basic things from the, when you come in and for any reason you go to the driver's license office or some places, depending on the state, they give you our information, then you're able to reach out to us. So basically we teach you those basic things to help you assimilate and adapt to the culture, just to minimize the cultural shock, because naturally we all have a cultural shock. So how do we partner with what you are doing so that we have your information to share in areas that we are not handling, and you have our information to share, but like come together as in partnership so that we will be able to work better and give better information or support to immigrants?
Yeah, thank you very much, my sister. God bless you. And thanks for joining this conversation. Always a pleasure to be with you. And yes, of course, when it comes to immigration and immigrants and what immigrants face in the United States or abroad, Canada, everywhere, it's overwhelming. And the harvest is much, but the workers are few. So we need more people to stand up and do what we have to do to ensure our people don't suffer in this country. We have talked so much about why people are running, blah, blah, and all that. But, American influence, European influence, Canadian influence, international policies and laws are part of the problems. we have in Africa, why our people are coming here. But that's not a topic for this session. It's a topic for another day. And they have made immigration one of the biggest money-making activity in the world today, because there are some people who profit from immigration. IDP camps, displaced people feed them, people do all that. But we here, we are concerned about our people, even though we are, forcefully displaced. Our people don't want to travel abroad if they have the right thing. Somebody is saying on the chat, Diana, God bless you. Our country is, if we don't have problems, the best place to be is our country. But the reality on ground is that they've made our country unbearable for us. We hardly can live. We are just surviving. That's why when we meet ourselves in a foreign land, we should try all we can do to help our people. So doing what you are doing, it's very remarkable. What we are doing is just little in what we can do. So working together, to come to your questions, all those were just preambles, is that we can work together. In America today, I know you are in, I've forgotten where you are now, but if you have people who need help in New York City, you can connect them to me. And if I have people who need help, the kind of services you are providing over there, and they are there, I can connect them to you. I've connected people to similar services, even while in New York City. In Texas, people will call and say, oh, can you connect us to free immigration lawyers? Or we connect them. DC, we connect people. Somebody have called me from airport before and told me the wife is being deported. Just before you know it, we connected the person, the lawyer went there and stopped the deportation, and they were able to release the person in Detroit. So we can do a lot together. When information is what we do. Thank God you have my information, I have your information. Then we can go further to share our organizational information where you can access them. It's online, Facebook, Instagram. Even we have a website. So for you can access this and refer people to me when they're in New York City. When people are in your state and they need help, and somebody calls me and say, I need help, but I'm not in New York City, I can easily say, okay, talk to so person, they are reliable. They meet up also, connecting people services through him, while also connecting people to services in New York City through me. So there's a lot we can do, because the truth is, as human beings, every challenge, every problem is an opportunity to make impact. And that's why we are here, impacting lives, trying to ensure that people decide life by the necessary resources, the necessary information that they need to start a new life. Because all you are talking about is information. Like we said, like we have agreed here, if you are not informed, you are deformed. You can hardly perform anything. So we need to always give our people the right information so that they will make informed decisions. Thank you for all you do, Mama.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for that wonderful question, Miss Catherine. Before I forget, I want to also appreciate Apostle Dr. Diana. Where's that coming from? Okay, Apostle Dr. Diana Gray is the founder of 100 Arts. She is a phenomenal woman. In fact, I want her to say one or two things before we round up. Miss Apostle Dr. Diana Gray.
Hi, hello everyone. Hello, Tope. You're not supposed to give me microphone because you call me troublemaker. I'm not. I love everyone here. Why? Because you're all Nigerians. My own family, they ask me if I'm some kind of Nigerian tete lover or something, because let me tell you, I visited so many countries in Africa. And when I got to Nigeria, I literally kissed the ground because my soul, my spirit, everything about it said, I'm home. I don't like when I hear, Nigeria is this, Nigeria is that. No. If we make Nigeria good, Nigeria will be good. If Nigeria is a young country, she's only 60 years old. If we run away, all of the strong warriors run away and we don't look back, she will die. She will suffer and she will die. She'll be the laughing stock. The smartest person in the entire world is not a Chinese, is not an Indian, is not what we all expect it to be. It's a Nigerian. Doctors that are making waves, surgeons that are doing wonderful, great things. Look them up. They're all Nigerian. Nigeria is the apex of Africa, and Africa is the greatest nation in the entire universe. Everything begins in Africa and it will all end there. When I'm on the plane going to Africa, going to Nigeria, 300 seats on the plane, over 200 is white people, real Oyibos, not people like me that they call Oyibos, real Oyibos, and they only follow money and prosperity. When I'm coming back to New York, over 280 is Nigerians. Why? I have no problem with Nigerians coming to America to make a better life, but don't throw stones, please. Go back, send back, give back, build up Nigeria. Yes, we're going to end SARS. Yes, we're going to get rid of the bad apples. We are, but we must remember that America is over 1,000 years or whatever it is, and it was built on the backs of us Africans. There's nothing good about the US that the white man has done. It was all us blacks that did it. So we can do the same for our 60-year-old baby. We can do it for Nigeria. So yes, I will work with anyone on this platform. I will work with you till I tire and I will never tire because I never tire. I'll work with you to help you all to get what you need here in the US, but only if you promise to not throw stones behind you. I was born in Kingston, Jamaica, okay? And my parents are Nigerians. I know from which I came, and we cannot keep doing it. That is what the white man expects us to do, to run and come here and become his slave. It's not everything that glitters in America that is gold. When you come here with your big degrees from Nigeria, you're still not getting those big jobs unless you know somebody. It's the same thing here. No matter what, I know as the speaker earlier said that, and I made joke about giving envelopes to senator. And I'm not going to continue to talk too long because you all can get my information from Ambassador Tope. And I will talk to you all at length. But I've been in this country, in this New York, since I was a small girl. 41 years, August 6, 1979, I came to this country. I know everything about them. Some of my best colleagues and best friends are ambassadors, senators, congressmen, all of these. I know everything about them, and it's not everything about them that glitters. In our country, at least we know in Nigeria who we are, what we're doing. We just need to get rid of the bad apples, and we will, because we've started the movement, we've started the revolution. So in the next 5 years, it's going to be better. In the next 10 years, they will be begging us to come and live in Nigeria, rather than we begging them to come and live here. Why should we even beg them? They need us. We're the best of everything. If you're a Nigerian scammer, you're the best scammer. If you're a Nigerian doctor, you're the best doctor. And I don't understand why people want to come to US to school. It's dumb here. I'm telling you, they call it dumb in America. Nigeria education is better. Maybe because it's I can understand if you go to UK to study, even Nigerians, send your children to Jamaica to study. There's a little secret that I will tell you all right now. Starting December to January, there's going to be direct flights from Nigeria to Jamaica, only 5 hours. I'll talk to you all more about that. Anybody that wants information, send your children to Jamaica to study. They will have the same environment, they'll have the same weather and everything, and they'll have better education. US is dumb. If you send your 15-year-old here to US, they're going to be beginning high school. That is secondary school in Nigeria. Just look into it. You don't need to send your kids here for education, only because you want to infiltrate the immigration system. That would be the only reason. And this is just access to money. That's all it is. But take the money back. I think I've said enough. God bless you all. I love you all. You all so much. But you can't talk to me about Nigeria because I am passionately in love with Nigeria.
Well, I need to also say this, that Dr. Diana is a citizen of Nigeria. She has documentation that proves
I fought for it all. I fought for it.
Yes. So okay. Once again, we want to round up now. Mr.
Hello. Oh. Hello. Before you round up, sorry.
Okay.
Can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Tommy, and I'm presently in Argentina. I would like to ask Mr. Olayinka Ogundikpe a question. I want to know, is it possible to move to Canada from Argentina without IELTS? Like if I have my citizenship here in Argentina, is it possible for me to move to Canada without writing IELTS?
Okay, hi, how you doing? This is this Tommy, right? Tommy, right?
Yeah, Tommy.
Tommy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. Tommy, when you say move, you mean permanently relocate? That's permanent residence, right?
Yes, yes.
I mean, it's possible, but you have to, there are, like I mentioned, there are three ways, right? It's either you have a family member that will sponsor you, one, or you have in humanitarian and refugee the applications. But if it's through the economic class, even if you're from Britain, New Zealand, Australia, I've had people from Britain complain terribly about that. Like why? I mean, we speak English. I speak English. Why do they do that? No, it's just because it's a like we said earlier. It's legalized now. It's regulated now. So not to have a level of preferential treatment. It's been handed over to the legal authorities. All and everybody that wants to come in through the economic system has to do the English proficiency test. But based on the economic class that you're coming in, there are different pass marks, different for the professionals, the Federal Skilled Worker Program, which is the quickest one, the one people hear about, which is one they're pushing more because that one has professionals, educated, PhD holders, masters, and all that. Those ones have the higher because you're competing with other people with high skilled. That one has a higher criteria. You have to get almost to the top marks. But there's the Federal skilled trade. There's the provincial nomination programs. There are other programs that have low pass marks for the IELTS exams. So so it depends on the program you're coming in. That's why we do an assessment. Once you tell us your fears, your this thing, we'll tell you, okay, well, if you can't do the IELTS well, if you think you're not proficient in English, we should go for this route. And if you can qualify for that route. So there are other routes, but you still have to do that exam because it's in the legislation. So you have to do that exam. And so I hope have I answered your question concerning that.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, thank you very much. We would like to have your details maybe later on.
Okay, no problem. Okay, just quickly, let me just quickly give everybody. You can ask Mr. from the Center of Africa and Mr. Temitope Omotayo for our details. But to get in touch with us, our company name is Arboway Immigration, ARBORWAY Immigration Incorporated. So you can go on our website.
Can you send it to the chat box, please?
Okay, I'll do that to everybody. www.abowwayimmigration.ca. Just to quickly piggyback on what Diana was saying and what Mr. Aldo is saying, because I'm also in the immigration business, and my conscience would not let me sit down because I'm taking human capital away from Nigeria. I'm taking human resources away from Nigeria and bringing them over here. So how do my suggestion, because Mr. Temitope sent me a bunch of questions to ponder over, how can we annex abundant human capital abroad to develop Africa? Some of us over here do not, our issues are, trust. Who do we trust back in Africa? We've had situations where we've sent money back home, even our family members, they have other priorities to do with the money, we do not agree with their priorities of how they spend money. Some are very religious with the money, some are very community oriented with the money, some are very personal with the money. Maybe we might want it for business purposes, and then they say, oh, your sister somewhere needs healthcare, your sister this one is, they use the money for stuff. So my own way is that we are all a member of a community. We all went to school in Africa, in Nigeria, if we're from Nigeria. We all have an alumni organization in Nigeria. We hear about education problems in Nigeria, schools in Nigeria, dilapidated infrastructures in Nigeria. I should be honest, there should be no school in Nigeria that should have infrastructural problem. With the amount of alumni that are abroad, there should be no school, no grammar school, no community school, no secondary school should have that much. It should be smooth sailing, because with the amount of alumni earning foreign exchange outside of those schools that came out of that school, with the amount of alumni outside, we don't need the government. We don't need the government for those schools to not be delivered. We don't need the government to pay their salaries, teacher salaries. If our alumni organizations, you've had schools that have been in existence over 30 years, 20 years. I mean, most of them are parents now. So the majority of us have traveled out. We have a lot of Nigerians in diasporas. Those schools should not be dilapidated. If we're in communities, we have professionals amongst us, we know them. We go and we do committees, we do committee of friends, we hang out, we do annual reunions and stuff. We should start getting serious. This is America, these countries that we're talking about, it wasn't the government that built it. Harvard wasn't the government that built it. Most of these schools were in the government. The hospital systems and healthcare system in America, it wasn't built by the government. We are a member of a community. We're a member of either a tribe, a Yoruba organization, Ondo organization, Igbo organization. We're a member of something. We should stop just partnering. We should, at least if you can't trust people, you can come together, do a susu, do an investment corp, do something, do a cooperative, and then invest together. It also builds trust amongst ourselves. We are any foreign currency. We have members of that community back in Nigeria. There are some of them we trust, there are some we don't trust. We went to high school with them. We know their characters. We can, we're not just being on the WhatsApp, texting each other, oh, hi, I gave back that. No, we can actually form a purpose. Because like Diana said, people are going back to Nigeria to invest. Yes, we might feel, oh, I don't have that money, or I can only send $100 or $200 to my parents every week, every month. Guess what? Why are you sending $200 to your parents? Because there's no infrastructure, there's no water, there's no healthcare, there's not there. But guess what? There are 20 or 30 people in that community sending money from abroad that that you talk to. If 30 of us come together, we don't need to send $100. We can send $50. We'll buy what they need together. Community, okay, we get what they need together. At least, okay, people in Nigeria, you might not trust them, but if you're here, there are ways to get your money back if somebody defrauds you. You can go to court. There are ways you can do it. So we can use the system here to help strengthen ourselves back. Because let's be honest, people in Nigeria cannot do it. The government will not allow them to do it. We've seen the NSAS, they tried to do it. See how NSAS became what it became, because the outsiders, the diasporans supported it. That was why it became what it became, not because the Nigerians did it. They could have gone outside people have been doing protests forever, but until the diasporans supported with funds, with information, with exposing it, tweeting about it, and promoting it, that's when it became what it became. So we in the diaspora that have been, I would say, lucky that have been outside of the country, seen different things, now earning foreign exchange money that is bigger than, there's more than even people that are way more professional than us making Nigeria. We have a community we are a member of already. Your alumni, join them, work with them. Don't just do parties, don't just do reunions. Actively work with them to grow the country outside of the government, because that's the only way that country will grow. And we already have that vehicle. So that's my own take on that.
Thank you. Don't just do parties. Don't just do work with them. And that's one thing, that one message that really resonates with me, because even we are so much into social gathering, we are too much into party. Now we should begin to use our strength as to leverage on opportunities at our disposal. Having said that, I think I will welcome one more question and presentation. Yinka, I think you said you have something to say. The other Yinka, we have another Yinka here. Mr. Yinka, do you have anything to say?
Okay. I have one more presentation I wanted to do, right? This very quickly, just to piggyback on what Yinka from Canada has said. 100 Hearts, we have something called Box Farm Nigeria that we're initiating, that we're looking for Nigerians in diaspora to help us with. And Box Farm Nigeria is just a very small thing. Anybody, what we will do is we will show them how to farm in a box. Even if you have one small self-contained room and you can just put this box outside of your window or put it on top of your roof or just put it outside of your yard, you can now farm pepper, You can farm just small things, tomato, anything, and we will show you and help you how you can make 50,000 naira just by doing that for yourself. And we will give you the seeds. We'll start everything for you and give you the money for it from the beginning. Then you will come back and sow into somebody else's life to help them to do the next box farming. So we're doing a lot of things that we would like to present here now to just show you all how you can do, and anything that is going to help Nigeria to grow. I must agree with you, my brother, 100%. It must be done outside of government, because the government of Nigeria is the problem of Nigeria. But the people must remember that the government is only there because they place them there, and they can remove them. Government are just people, they're not God.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yinka, do you have anything to say, little man?
No, sir. No.
Okay. Okay. Now, Miss Catherine, please, I give you 1 or 2 minutes. Let's round up.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ambassador, for giving me this opportunity to talk. This is going to be really brief. He's given me the opportunity to just invite everyone to my book launch. It's going to be next week, Sunday, and it's going to be, he has not fixed the time yet. It's going to be about 1 p.m. US Eastern Time or 2 p.m. US Eastern Time, so that those in Nigeria and in UK can still will be able to join. And the title of the book is I Am Me, I Am Me. And the subtitle is Rebuilding Self-Esteem from Inside. So, and that is because growing up, I have been in a community where I see a lot of things go on. And as a certified life coach, a certified Christian coach, and a wellness coach, I have come to realize that this is something that is needed. I used to do a lot of programs based on that, but I decided to just put the book out there. Usually I just use it to talk to young adults and married couples. But now the book is all out and it should be on Amazon by Tuesday. So I am inviting everyone to come join us and partner with us. We're just trying to help every one of us have that self-esteem that God has given to us, because when we have change of environment or change of situations, it affects us one way or the other. So come join us so that we can build ourselves from inside out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. On this note, I don't think anybody, one more thing. Mr. Yinka, what advice do you have? I mean, I want a parting shot for you. And I will also ask Mr. Audu then we'll close.
What advice do I have for what? For what?
Africa people who are coming abroad or people who are abroad, what advice do you have?
Okay, my advice for people coming abroad is, it's what I said, the why, which country, why do you want to immigrate? You have to know why. So that why you want to immigrate, because things happen, it shifts. So why? That's why you have people here for, long donkey's years. They call them Baba America, Mama America. They haven't figured themselves out. It's not their fault, but sometimes they're unlucky. And sometimes if they go back and look at it, there was something that they could have done that that would have made their situation better. Which country? You have to do the research. Some people, Kenya is where their destiny is at. South Africa is where their destiny is at. Ghana is where their destiny is. So it might just be a different, move from Lagos Island to Lekki or Ekpe or something, or Ikorodu. That might be where your destiny is at, where know your skills, know your strengths. The main thing is earning a living. How can you earn a living when you move out? You have enough skills to earn a living. Are your skills transferable from where you're coming from to where you're going to? And your family support, all those, you can work with that. But family support is very important because these countries are a very lonely country. You don't have a family here. So the cost of relocation, the sacrifices, but earning a living, what skill do you have? Is your skill, like I remember when you always tell me your talent will tell you, take you into front of kings. So how do you, your talent will take you in front of kings where, so your skill, what skill? Because earning a living is the most important, one of the most important things for a human being. Since we ate the apple, since Adam ate the apple and we were chased out of the garden, one of the most important things is earning a skill. So I mean, your skill, you're earning a living. So your skill to earn a living is very important. My advice to people here, Mr. Audia said this is a nation. These are nations of laws, regulations, norms. We are living in a world where what we used to think 4 years ago is different. We are the old stock old stock citizens of these nations are becoming challenged with the newcomers. So just hold steadfast in why you are here, what you are here for, and follow their laws and their norms, and don't forget home. Don't forget home. Like I said, what happened in the last 4 years with the presidents, not just in the US, even in Canada and in Europe, what is happening and what might happen, because yes, it's an election, but we don't know we don't really know what's going to happen even after this. So don't throw away the baby with the back home. Still keep your connections, still keep your network. And then like I said, Africa can be frustrating, especially if you're in this system and you're structured. It's frustrating because it's developing. That's why it's developed. That's why it's called developing. South Korea was frustrated. Malaysia was frustrated. Singapore was frustrated. All these nations that we see now, we envy, they were frustrated. Even the people the colonizers that were there, the white man that was there, when they write books about them, they were frustrated. They were corrupted. They were very corrupt. Don't let it get twisted. They were corrupt, but they didn't throw away the baby with the bathwater. That's why the next generation is enjoying it. It might not be in our generation. Let's be honest. The way Nigeria is going, it might not be our generation. But the reason why we traveled here is for our own children, for ourselves and for our children. So if there's something we can do to help the country we are from, even if it's frustrating, even if it's irritating, even if you're going to be defrauded, even if you're going to, let's be honest with ourselves. Yes, we are being defrauded with our little change in Africa. But here you're not defrauded, but guess what? All the money you work for goes to bills. So you're not being defrauded, but you don't keep the money. You don't keep the money. So you're being defrauded back there, but here you don't keep the money. So let's be honest, you still don't have the money.
Is it me, or does everyone see that beautiful sunset there in Argentina? My sister, move your head or you're blocking the sunset. Look at that.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
That's background. Yes, that's the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Win.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Yinka. Thank you so much, Mr. Yinka. Thank you so much.
Okay, there. You see, now everybody sees that. See, Dr. Diana, my twin is Ambassador Tope.
Thank you so much, Dr. Diana. Mr. Audu, please, I want you to give us a parting shot, then we'll move forward. Thank you, Mr. Audu.
Yeah, thank you. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to all the participants, my fellow panelists, presenter Olainka, and your humble self, Diana, Tommy. These are the few names I can see here, and for any other person I cannot see, my beautiful sister Catherine. I just want to say thank you, and I'm really honored to be discussing Nigerian issue, or immigration issue generally. For me, I just want people to know that it's an unprecedented period in Nigeria, and we are here because part of the fallout of what is happening in our country today is the fact that people are moving, people are running away, people just want to leave the country because it's no more bearable. People hardly leave. People are just existing, barely surviving. So it's an unprecedented time. So for me, and that's why we're having this discussion, because people who are moving due to all these reasons, they need support. Even if they move to US, Canada, anywhere they go to, they need support. Even in Nigeria, we still have some fortunate people who have the wherewithal to take care of themselves. So what I want to say to people is, let's be our brother's keeper at this time. You know, anything you can do to help, to assist anybody in any way, form, or shape in Nigeria, abroad, anything you can do to help a fellow Nigerian, a fellow African, a fellow human being survive wherever they are. Please, let's continue to do it, because it's an unprecedented time we are living right now. There's chaos everywhere. There's hulabaloo everywhere. You know, COVID-19 is there. Nigerian people are shouting EndSARS, palliative, people are stealing money, and people are still suffering. So it's a whole lot to process.
Suffering and smiling.
Yeah, it's a whole lot to process as Nigerians. And like Kinka said, you know, maybe some of us consider ourselves fortunate. I don't know the definition of being fortunate, but at least some of us can still provide for ourselves. So let's continue to, whatever we can do here to help people back home, whatever we can do to help people here, you know, let's do that. And part of those things we can do is what we are doing here right now. You know, talking about the issues, bringing solutions, connecting people, trying to ensure that we don't suffer from lack of information. And what we are giving here is information. And Yinka has given a lot of information. I think I've given some. And for anybody who's willing to change their life, this information is okay to, you know, start you on the path. So for me, let's continue to be our brother's keepers. And it's wonderful being here and having this discussion with these wonderful people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aldu. Once again, it's been an awesome time. Oh my God. Yes, it keeps getting better. Even me, that I spent.
Niger network don't catch him up.
Thank you to everyone who attended.
What happened to you? We thought NEPA took light.
Okay. Once again, I want to say thank you to everyone that was able to call in today. I want to say thank you to all our guests. You know, Center for African Advancement in America, you know, was founded because of this purpose to, you know, examine issues that really bother us as people. And in September, we look at pandemic, how we can keep our children safe in the midst of pandemic. In October, we look at how we can leverage on the opportunity to have to increase our voting right, to at least to become more active in our communities. This month we just look at immigration and in search of greener pasture. Once again, we'll come back next month. We'll be looking at another topic. And remember that the link to this Zoom meeting will be sent to you via email. We'll send it to your email for those who registered. And you can also find it on YouTube and also on our page on Facebook. Once again, I want to thank everybody for coming. Once again, I say, keep living the dream and don't forget home. God bless you all. Bye-bye. And this is Ambassador Temito Pomotayo signing up and say, God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Bye.
Information to yourself, share it.
Thank you, Rose, for inviting me.
You're welcome, girl.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rose,
the able secretary.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, you.
Bye. I'm waiting for my gift from the debut.
Okay.
Don't worry. Cow food. I've been at Bokoto. I don't know what she was eating. Waiting for mine.
Bye, Mimi.
Bye. Bye, Mimi. Bye, everybody.
Come on, I'm alive.
Diana, we're
Say bye.
Now she's gone.
Say bye-bye.
There you go, Diana.
Say bye.
Baby.
Say bye-bye. Say bye-bye.
Bye. You're so far away yet so near.
Say bye. Say ciao, ciao,
Bye.
ciao, ciao.
Bye, baby.
Bye, baby.
Yeah.
I can see Diane. There she goes.
I'm waiting for my puff puff.
Okay, don't worry. If it's puff puff, I will right now, Seth, I'll email it to you.
Fish egg.
You want only puff puff, you don't want moi.
And fried.
And fried yam.
You will YouTube it.
Oh, gosh. It's a pleasure meeting all of you.
This is a wonderful section.
Yeah, you see, when people don't want to leave a session, it means it's awesome.
No, it just means she's looking for food because she doesn't want to go in the kitchen. She's just being lazy today.
I know.
Okay, guys, bye-bye.
Bye. Love you.